So we have been talking about laying the foundation for this onboarding team, and we're just kind of going through the different process for how to get people started quickly so that they can find their gifts and their talents and use them for Christ. So we've got Karma and Diana, Leah from Pakistan, join us on Discord, and myself, and we've been discussing this. We already covered some stuff for navigating Notion, but we're going to start documenting from this point forward too. And the last thing we were talking about was keeping track of the talents and the skills and the interests that individuals have, and how we can update the directory of workers with the entry-level systems. The reason why we want to one of the reasons we want to document this is because it's an educational tool for other people. Because just like you're learning things and we're learning things and I'm learning things as we're discussing, this is a resource that people would love to go through and just see like, wow, what is that process? Or that's what it went into. But as we're talking about trying to figure out this human resource onboarding things, it reminds me that of the book The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. He says the E-Myth, it's the entrepreneurial myth. The myth is because, like, he talks about a technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. And we have a skill, like for instance, for myself, let's say like I like teaching, like that I love teaching, that's what I do. So just because the myth is that because I would teach, like I'd work with another church, I'd work with another ministry, I'd work with another school, and I'd teach and I'd share. And then I'm like, okay, I like teaching, I'm doing fine, I probably don't have to work with this ministry, I'm going to use my talent and gift, I'm going to go start a ministry that teaches, or a business that teaches, or an education. So the myth is that because I know the technical work of teaching, then I can start a business or ministry that does that technical work of teaching. Or it might be cooking, like Carmen was like, I love cooking, I want to be a chef. And then he realized, wait a second, to be a chef means much more than cooking. That's running a team and a kitchen and a menu and serving lots of people, and it's a business of cooking. And you started a restaurant, so you realize that what goes into a business is actually, you need accountants, you need HR, you need delivery, you need customer service, you need to leadership develop. Like, you need to be a leader to attract that talent. You need to train. You need to have multiple skills. And as an entrepreneur, he was mentioning how you need to be able to wear the hat of the technician and the manager who does the systems and who makes things in order and follows things and manages the technicians. And then you have to have the hat of the entrepreneur who's a visionary, who's dreaming big, who's going for the future and casting vision and figuring out what are the opportunities that we can try new things and grow and innovate and all these things. So there's three roles, and as a founder, you have to be able to wear all three hats. And a lot of people, the technicians, like Carmen, realize, I love cooking, but I'd be miserable as a chef. But I would love to be on a team that cooks. Like, there's a total difference. And what I realized, that whole book can be applied to ministry. Just replace the word business with ministry. And I see so many people go out to start ministries because they have a talent and a gift. And they think, let me go start this ministry because I want to share this. But they don't realize the whole team aspect that goes into it. And you have to be wired like a certain way. You have to be really committed and really wanting to be extremely excited about the risk and about the balance and the dance between like the managing and leading, or the technician and the visionary, and it's intense. And a lot of people, like I remember when we first started building a team, I remember there's these two sisters. One of them was like, I am so glad I don't have to do what you're doing. And I'm like, they were proofreading and they love proofreading and they're so happy to be able to help. And I'm like, I don't know why they would want to help. Because like I can't stand proofreading, but they're like, because the message used to be everyone should have their own ministry, everyone should have like their own, like start this and start that, and everybody needs this. She's like, I'm like, that was stressful, but now I realize that I could be a part of a ministry that's doing these things, and I can contribute rather than have to do all those things. It makes it so much more like
kind of like the president. He doesn't know how to work on a road. He doesn't know what it takes to work on a road.
Yeah.
But he knows somebody that does know how to work on a road and knows how to run all those systems to make that road work and the workers and the whole 9 yards. So he relies on his head guy to get his information.
Yeah.
Because if you try to do it all, you can't, but you have to know who is in charge. Somebody has to be in charge of it. But like you said, when you start a business, a small one, you wear all the hats, and you eventually find people that you train in those areas and push them to the next level so they can study, they can learn, so they have a chance to grow. So all you're getting is a report from them, which is important.
Exactly. And every day that we advance with the Army of Youth, I'm like more and more realizing like everything we're talking about, like onboarding and training these people and keeping track of all these, I'm like, this is way, like, I just wanted to teach, but I enjoy this stuff. Like, I'm wired where it's like, hey, I'm ready to take on the challenge, but I'm like, man, I thought I could like teach and share, and but this stuff, it's good as we build a team.
We build a team.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll be back into just the teaching as the leaders are being developed and they're developing themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're already in something they love, they will develop even faster, and they'll be able to train their people in their department even faster because they love what they do. They are going to find the resources themselves because they love what they do, and they're going to find quicker ways, faster ways,
way better
ways.
Ever do.
Ours is just a basic, but as they take on their role, they're going to just whoosh, fly.
And what excites me and excites you and is like being able to find people's talents and just plug them in exactly their gift and what they love and they thrive in and they never get tired. It's like, wow, to think that we can have a life, like a vision, a legion of 6,000 like gospel soldiers who are doing what they love in spreading the gospel. They're all doing a unique role and a part that like some people may not want to do, but they love doing it, and they never get tired. Like, that is a reality. That can be our reality, but we don't see that taking place now. So it's a real problem we're solving.
Well, and two, this is what I'm seeing the Army of Youth as. People are getting on board because they want somewhere to use their gift.
Yes.
And they have nowhere to use it.
Right.
And so it's like, to start a ministry, it is hard. Like you said, you wear many hats to get all the information on them. They don't know how to get it out there. So they can come here and serve in the Army of Youth and use their talent. Or they can come here and get the skills to start their own ministry for all the different departments they're going to need to run their ministry. So that's what I love about the Army of Youth. It can either go both ways. You can either come and serve, like Jesus asked you, what did you do with that one talent? You know, I hid it because I didn't know what to do with it. Or he said, why didn't you put it to use? Oh, well, go put it to use over at the Army of Youth. At least you're using it. At least it's reaching thousands of people. At least you're doing something great with the gift that God's given you.
Gives me the chills. I'm so excited.
Yeah, isn't that exciting?
And
so it's not just sitting there at home doing a something job.
Away. And where you're like warming the pews in the church, and you're like, I have a talent, I wanted to, but maybe the pastor doesn't have the vision for the future or growth or that leadership to be like, hey, here's your gifts, let's use it, or like empowering people to do what they do best. And because that opportunity, like the cap of every organization is a leader, it's a leadership, the point leader, and also the leadership in the organization. I see a lot of people struggle with that, and it's a big burden that I have, and a problem that I see is just, it pains my heart to see people idle, because I know that dedicating my time to Christ's service was the best decision I ever made in my life. I want everyone to experience that great joy. That's our purpose in life. So
I'm excited.
I know,
you just gave me vision.
That's good. Was it a specific vision? Or just
it's like a burden I've had, how churches are dead.
Oh, yeah.
It really bothers me because they're not
Me
dead.
too.
They want to reach lost, but they don't know how.
Right.
And that's where you and I come together.
Yeah.
Like our gifts really. Yeah. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to go out and talk. It's like I have a leader that will show your people how to move their ministry into a direction.
Yeah.
You know, you need to join this program so you can get the tools that you need because what you're doing is not working.
Right. That's right.
We need to help you.
And that's why.
Wow.
I know, it's exciting. That's why I want to document this stuff, and the type of content that I want to provide people is these concepts, because really all of the actions that the leaders and churches are doing, every action is belief driven. So it's changing what we do will change the results of people idle. We don't empower others because our beliefs we don't see the priority or the belief that we need to empower others, and I don't have to do everything. So really the fundamental battle that we are waging war against with people living aimless lives is we have to destroy and unleash the chains, the false beliefs within the leadership of these different organizations, so that they can begin to empower the leaders around them and the talents.
I'm so excited I can't hardly even sit here.
But I know, me too. But how do we change their belief?
Easy.
Is through the truth, the Word of God, and it's information.
Yes.
It's information worded in a specific, actionable, like just-in-time learning type of format, and step by step. And that's through events, through courses, and so I'm
and you know what? I hate to change this again. We have Leah on here, and we were Leah. So was there something else we had to discuss with Leah too? Why she's here? Because I know that she's calling in from wherever she's calling in from. Was there one more thing we need to go over with her? And we'll finish up with her.
So what we have here is.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to change it.
No, this is good. So another thing that I wanted to say, what we were talking about last was a system for keeping track of their talent, their interest, their past background, their experience. This is a vision I've always had since 2016, but I didn't understand how to make it happen, but this is what I see. As I see in the Army of Youth, we can provide different courses for different things that people can go through, and what I would love, like we can give it all out and just like not track who does it or where they're at or what they finish, but it'd be nice if we had a platform like Netflix that allows us to provide the step-by-step course, but instead of giving movies and documentaries, we'll give like a course on like public speaking course, or like slide design course, or forming your first team course. Like we can have a theme of leadership development, delegation course, or some of these courses just showing people the simple steps with like very actionable step-by-step, so then they can just go in there and they can see based on their need. They can go through this, and I'm committing for this month, like I'm learning how to communicate, the communication challenge. And so like this is my skill, this is my direction in life. God wants me to be a writer, or an editor, or a public speaker, or a one-on-one teacher, a Bible reader, or a small group leader. So we have like this stuff on giving Bible studies or communicating.
So what you're saying is we want to create ourselves to be like a Netflix, where people can choose the category that they want to study, and they'll have all that course will be like
for evangelism, entrepreneurial, like ministry. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you're developing already, but it's just a matter of having a platform to put it on.
Platform that organizes.
Do you know how we're going to get that?
Overwhelming.
It's pretty simple.
How are we going to get what?
That platform.
How?
Easy. So when we're doing, we're going to be doing this micro, whatever you call it.
There's another part of it too, but you can share.
That micro thing that we're talking about, trying to develop.
Micro content?
Was it not micro content?
Micro victories?
No. We were talking about the other day that we want to be able to put them out there, because that will give us all the people signing on for the Army of Youth, because right now it's not doing anything. You got to list
Microblogs.
Microblogs.
Yes, microblogs.
Microblogs. There's no reason we cannot run a micro challenge blog or whatever, so we don't have to do like advertisement. But it is an advertisement.
Yeah, it's all content marketing.
Yeah, content marketing. All we have to say is, have you always wanted to start your own platform? You need to get a hold of the Army of Youth. And they say yes, because people that want to already start, they will put their heart into it, and they will do all the background search, the resources, they will do it all. You won't have to do any of that. They will put the whole system together for you, because they love it so much, and they just want somebody to say, you have permission.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all they want.
No, I completely agree. And I posted on my story yesterday asking, I cast a short vision. I was like, hey, does anyone know how to make this happen? If you do, reach out to me.
That's how you make it happen.
And some guy messaged me this morning. Is like, I have a friend in Rwanda who can do this. And I was like, great, is he missionary minded? I'd love to talk with him.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Just keep agitating.
That's good too.
Because it's all content marketing through posts and stories and stuff.
But there's people have dreamed of making their own platform.
Yes.
There's people that's like,
true.
man, I could just, but they just need permission.
They dream about making the platform, but they don't have any of the content.
They don't have the content.
And we have the content, we don't have the platform.
We have the platform.
And that would be a dream. Yeah, I know.
Which is good.
It is good. So, but with that, what I wanted to do is I think the best way to learn is discipleship, is mentorship. And it is what I really like about network marketing is you have people who enroll you and sponsor you, and it already inside the structure, you have a leader who's taking you under their wings, and it's like by you saying yes with them, you are now like their child, their baby. They're taking ownership of your development and growth. And
shepherder. You're
like a shepherd.
Yeah,
you become a shepherd.
You're supposed to take care of your sheep.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
And Paul said to Timothy, "My son, I have begotten thee through the gospel. You have many instructors, but you have not many fathers." So people taking this fatherly mentorship, discipleship training, and I like that they have like this placement tree where you could like see how people are connected by who, and they have it's just that kind of structure where just you have an overview of what student enrolled by who and who referred who, where they're connected. So this person's responsible for them and like, hey, I'm helping you. This is my sheep. This is so each one can have 12 or whatever. And what is nice is they have like they do it with ordering products and like BV and stuff. Like I don't know if like we can do this with like courses or training, but it's like people that like have a course, go through a course. It'd be nice to track where they are, like what we're saying with this, but like I'm thinking like in the future have a more like software that actually tracks like what courses did you complete through our platform and what are the ones that you're kind of certified in or that you understand well. Yes? I
have an answer.
What's that?
Well, the same person that's doing, like Kathy, she's the one doing onboarding for people that are signed up for the courses, right? Well, there's no reason not to have one of these little boards, and we can make it a whole different gallery. We can call it a different name, and it should be on our onboarders for our course. It's called.
Anyway, Direction from God?
Yeah. And then when they do that, it will say what course they're working on and which ones it should have their desired goal, what they want to reach. And that is a good way just to pull up, and we would be able to find everything, where they're at, where they've been, what they've conquered, what their high points were. It'll be like a list like that. What about that? That's easy to do. That's not a hard thing to do.
I think that's simple when you're dealing with like 50 people, but I'm like if we're dealing with like 6,000 people, what's a way that it could be automated is you just like plug in, fill out a form, and then you have an account. And with that account, you have access to like our Netflix.
Right.
And as you go through it, that your account is automatically tracking your progress through that course.
Well, there should be something that's an automated system. So Comron would be kind of the one that would say, oh, when they automatically fill in this in, when they push enter, it goes into our database, and it would have a spreadsheet of which one. We already have that. I know. We have to have that. No?
Yes. But what I'm talking about is like beyond our technical ability. We don't understand.
We don't have that yet?
We're much further. I mean, we have what you just described, but like to actually visually display and to keep track of when they go through a course, we don't have any like way to automate them getting access to the course. Like right now, the way it's set up.
Oh, we don't have a way for them to be automated so they can just go to the course.
Yeah, they just go to the course, so they could easily see the options. Go to the course. It's like a product catalog. Yeah. Like imagine a catalog of courses.
You pay for it, and you're ready to start.
And you're ready to start, and it checks your progress.
Can't do that. They have to go through what's the system right now that they do?
Right now, we have a checklist on Notion, and Leah's going through, or Tina, or someone. They copy the checklist and put it on their project board. Everyone who gets access to our course. Yeah, that's all manual.
But do we know how
to we can automate their course.
Why can't they not, when they go to the board that they're signing up their information on, when it has a link, it automatically populates into our board so that it's automatically done?
Notion may have something. There's a button that's called like template. I haven't played around with it, but it might have something where we could click it and it automatically show up there. But we don't have any button to automatically do something like that. We have to go navigate, know where it's at on System Hub, what is called, copy it, and paste it. The team leader, our onboarder, is doing that.
The onboarder's posting it onto each person's thing. It's not self-automated, so it's on the website itself. So when they push that link, instead we have to send it to them, then they have to download it.
Yeah, all through Notion. And we keep track as they mark off the checkbox. But ClickFunnels gives us, it's called a membership site, where as they log in with their member account, they can see options. This is what we talked about during the Pioneer session. But I mean, there are some ways you could do that. But the point of me sharing this was mostly not so much to figure it out all right now, but more so just to point out, like, if we have a way where people take ownership of the education of those that are training, so they've gone through the training, then they're helping them go through the training, and they're just like, rather than just like, the way online courses often are now is you can have 3,000 students that just sign up, and then you just have a support team who is helping answer their questions and comments or something, and they're going through it with themselves. But this would be like, look, the students are training the students, and it's like there's a structure where they're training each other, and you'll learn far more. The best way to learn is to teach. That's one of our core concepts and beliefs that we teach in the Army of Youth. So it doesn't matter what course you're taking, we're going to be pushing the law of imparting, that you have a duty to impart what you learn, and you learning this, you need to share with others.
So that needs to be part of the curriculum that specifies in it. At this Army of Youth, one thing that we are high on is you teaching the law of imparting.
Yeah.
So as you're learning this, you will have a downlink that's sent to you. You please impart with them when they ask you questions that you can help them with that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you
something
can
like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Oh, that would be so awesome.
Imagine if we had 6,000 people who were just kind of like helping each other.
Yeah, and then so you're saying, how will we be able to stay on top of it? Well, because everyone would fill out one of these stages. That's how. Wow, that would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
It'd be pretty simple. It's not hard. It's just hard about if you could send links. I don't know how to send links. I mean, I'm learning how to send links. I'm learning how to do that stuff.
Right.
So I'm slowly learning the basics. I'm not a comrade. I don't know what he looks at. It's like crazy stuff.
Yeah, so, as far as like keeping track of our workers, I know that it's helpful. Like Tina, I already so the thing that's called, I looked at nonprofit organizations and structures, they call it talent development.
A talent development.
That's a team, talent development under human resources, that looks at the talent of the organization and employees and stuff, and they're like, what course would help them to do their skill better, and puts them together. And I'm like, that's powerful. So we need a team of people who can go through the Army of Youth content, and let's categorize these things in like one topic. Like for instance, there's a lot of people want to know their life's definite aim. What is my purpose, my life calling? How do I understand that? I've done several trainings showing people exactly how to identify like more of your purpose, to get more clear on that, and who you are and who you are not, and what like really drives you in like as it relates to Christ and your connection with Him and the cause of God. And people go through that, they're like, this is really helpful. Yes.
This is fast and furious. Okay, so the onboarding, that is a department of HR, we're saying, right?
Yeah, talent development.
Talent development. So what we do is when the person signs on with the Army of Youth, that is one of the things we need to have them do. We don't have to go through all that. Let them go through it, and they
go through what? What do they go? Who is going through?
The same thing that you're teaching, that thing of finding your gift or finding who you are, what your talent is, whatever.
Who goes through it?
The new onboarder.
Okay,
the new.
Yes. But how do we get it to them?
The link thing, right? But you said
what link?
Don't we have a link?
No, we don't have a link. That's what I'm saying. We have no way for them to access it.
So we would have to download that program so what is it on? Is it recorded? I mean, you said you had it.
They're scattered throughout the internet. They're recorded. There's one on Facebook. There's one on YouTube, Army of Youth channel. There's one on
So we don't have them.
AYO.
So in other words, what we need to do is some of our first people that we're onboarding, that needs to be a new project that we put somebody on, is like going through all those and categorizing them and put them in one location.
Yes.
That would be fun for some people.
I did that up until a date, which was kind of recently. So I was surprised. We have a lot of those topics already categorized.
Okay.
But we do need someone who can maintain and keep categorizing new stuff and putting it in one of those topics.
Well, that would be a fun thing that's an entry level thing. That's not a hard thing.
In theory, yes, but also it would be really helpful if someone's familiar with our message and our content and the themes that we talk about. The more that they understand our core message that we give
But couldn't we just break it down into just subjects for now, like 5 basic ones or 6 basic ones, and then have somebody that's more skilled to go back through that one section and break it into a smaller one?
Sure.
But at least it'll be less headache. That's just one little step done more. I mean, that's always better. Just have one step done, and then the next person can come in and do this, what we're looking for, and that'd be a lot easier. But we have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Be fast
No,
and
I
get
agree. I agree. It's like a startup.
That's an entry job level. That's pretty simple. Just put this in this category, this one, or whatever one you think.
But if we put them in a category, how do people have access to this?
They won't.
Right now, it's on Notion.
So
they got just toggle lists. They got toggle blocks on how to study the Bible and toggle on finding your life purpose, understanding your talents. One's on.
So are we going to have to, when we build a new platform, Notion, Nashville, will Notion be able to have that platform on there? It can't, can it? It's not big enough. So it has to have an independent platform, right?
Yeah, like Netflix.
So
I think we can do it with ClickFunnels.
So there's no reason that once we get these things categorized and then recategorized, or however you want to do it, there's no reason not to move them over there so that they can just...
I agree.
So that would be our next step. So that would be kind of simple still.
In theory, there's a learning curve for us to figure out how to actually make that happen with ClickFunnels, but there's a team that it's a lot of data entry, and there's still a learning curve to figure out, like let's say Cameron and I could figure out how ClickFunnels you can navigate and actually do that in ClickFunnels. That's one thing to know how. It's another thing to do all the data entry and the work to get that done. So it's going to require a team of funnel builders what
are the skills that the funnel builders need to have? Do they need to be able to write program? Do they need to have what skill do they have to have in order to do this? What's the skill? What's the job title?
What skill would you say, Conrad?
What is that called?
It's not too skilled, but they can't be like completely computer illiterate. Just some like simple, like Rebecca could do it, Kim could do it, Leah could learn it, Daniel could learn it. Daniel thinks like, you gotta know programming, I don't want to do that. It's like, no, it's nothing to do with programming. It's just
so what is it you call it? So like if we had a data entry person that does play around on the computer all the time, what would we tell them that the areas for the ClickFunnels that they would need to know? What are those things that they would need to know? Like, I don't even know the technical words.
I think you're doing it fine.
So what would that be that they would need to know? Like, give me 5 of them or 3 of them, example of skills that they would need to know.
Don't think about the answer, just think of a answer.
Yeah, not the answer, yeah, because that's too much information. Just basic stuff. Basic stuff that people could learn that they would need to know to do a ClickFunnels thing.
Well, they need to learn how ClickFunnels works.
Number one, they have to know how ClickFunnels works. And then what else? Do they have to actually know how ClickFunnels work in order to work on the ClickFunnels? Do they actually have to know that part? They can't be like little monkeys and say, okay, this is all I have my job to do today is this one little thing. Like move this to here, back and forth, or be able to pull up this page and move it to over here, or write a programmer or whatever, or an assistant. I don't know. That's what I'm asking. I don't know what the
Those are good questions. Those are very good questions.
Those are the things that we need to know inside there. They don't have to know the whole system in order to do it. Because like a president doesn't know how to run the whole country, all he has to know is the basic little things to talk to his leaders. Well, each person only has to know what they know, really. That's all they need to know. Their leader has to be able to abstract from that and use it for his purpose. Mm-hmm. So what is the few little things at the bottom level, entry level, that they could be doing with ClickFunnels? Guess I'm going to have to go through the ClickFunnels video or something so I understand it, so I can know what I'm talking about.
He was saying data entry one time.
Data entry?
Yeah, just being able to go to Notion. Remember the LifeCast calendar I told you about? We need someone to go through that LifeCast calendar, and where there's all links there, just take those links and put them on one page, one section of ClickFunnels, and then put them on a ClickFunnels page. And we do that every month. Because he's doing that every month, and if we had someone else to do it, it's one less thing he has to do.
Oh, that is an entry level position.
Yeah, it's that entry. Mm-hmm.
See, that's what we need to do is have our list of entry level positions listed so we can put people on task. And the more we have that, we can find their gifts.
Remember when we were talking about the overview system?
The overview,
And I was like, Cameron, how can we differentiate our overview system? He says, we can add a tag. So we just added a tag to the system hub. Okay. So now we're identifying a lot of the entry level roles.
Oh, okay. So where would I go where it actually says entry level? Because like if I'm
on the system hub.
And do I look for that word, just entry level positions?
Yes. Another thing we could do is on the org chart, we can do colors. For entry levels is a color, intermediate level is a color, team leader is a color, project manager is a color, director is a color.
That's good too.
Those type of levels.
Those really help.
Colors are
Yeah, and then on top of that, that'll be nice because I will look for that because that's a good thing for onboarders. Because when you're onboarding somebody and you're talking to them and you know positions, you can all kind of throw them up. Have you ever worked with this, and this? And you can go through a list, kind of, first you hear kind of what they're interested in, then you can go to that section and you're like, have you ever thought about doing this, and this, and this?
Right.
And you're like, oh, that sounds good. I can't wait.
That's right.
Then we're already plugged them in. That'll help us plug them in right then that second.
It would. I think the org chart would probably be one of the better places to identify that stuff.
That's perfect.
But that doesn't mean that we have all the systems in place for it.
No. And on top of it all, the org chart, the only thing it doesn't have is you can't push on it and it doesn't give you the job description of what it means.
I talked to Cromwell and he said he's going to help with that.
Oh, on the org chart?
Yeah, it would be really helpful.
Wow, that would be amazing. You'd know exactly, whoever's talking to them know exactly what that position does.
Yeah, just like 1 to 3 sentences.
Yeah, because people like me don't know what all these things do.
Right, and that would be extremely clarifying for everyone.
Yeah, and that is self-automating. I mean, it's automation when you do that.
It's automation. So we put it through the focus funnel, and we got to automate. It's like that is automating a whole list of other stuff by having that job description.
Isn't this fun, Conrad? It's like, how am I going to do that? How am I going to do it? He's thinking.
I don't know what he's thinking about.
I love his personality because I don't know. I love it.
Yeah, no. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced.
He's fun. I can't tell you. I love it. Okay. So we went through that.
Yeah. So that's like the reason why I say that is because there's some people have been around a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tina, for instance. Tina has experienced like the how to study the Bible. She understands the searching and the Bible work. She understands the Bible reading concept. So like there's 7. Oh man, how do I do this? There's 7 things for building a community. And one of them is Watchwords. And the way that I look at it, Lord help, there's I'll just put rituals. It's like habits. There's icons. There's not a creed, but it's basically a shared belief. I mean, people call them different things. And then origin story. And then there's some other things I forgot. But basically in this, what I learned is we did a deep dive on this in 2018, and it was radically transforming. Found that on every YouTube channel, when you're building a YouTube channel, they say that people think that they're YouTube channels, but they're not YouTube channels. You're building a community on every social media platform. On Facebook, you're not building a page, you're building a community. And every community has 7 things
that they work with to draw people in.
Yes.
Like like, do you like the cross? That's a symbol, that's an icon.
Sure.
And people are like, oh, I have a cross on my wall. And so automatically you've now connected with the people that have crosses.
Sure.
Or if somebody has a belief, do you believe? Well, and then you've automatically connected to all those people.
Yeah, everyone, like the Bible is our common belief.
Yes.
Or even specifically like the law of imparting. Mm-hmm. The law of imparting is unique to our community, not like super unique. It's a law that's all over the place, but that phrase, like, people are like, I understand the law of imparting. When I learned this, it changed my life. And then it's like, oh, the law of imparting is transforming all in the army of youth. So you're like, this is a common belief that holds us together. Bible readings is a watchword. Bible readings is a format word, question, Bible text, and it empowers anyone to give a study. And you can study in your devotions in a Bible reading format, and you're always ready to teach it to other people. That's a watchword that when you hear it, people are like, oh, Bible reading, I know what that is. And it's a belief for that encapsulates, like, we have a duty to share with other people, but then people are like, how do I share with others? So that common belief is on evangelism, like the core values that we have.
Right.
That's what holds us together, stepping out of our comfort zone. Rituals or habits might be like,
praying when you get up in the morning.
Yeah, praying when you get up in the morning. Yeah, things like that. But things like that's core, that's unique to Christianity, but like specifically to the army of youth. that like no other organization has, like the Army of Youth does. That's what binds us to this community. Because praying when you get up in the morning, you can be in any Christian organization and teach that.
You're saying for our community.
Yeah, the Army of Youth community. 7
community things that we all have in common.
So,
the words that when we hear it, we know that we're part of this community.
Yes.
Okay.
And if other Christians or other people elsewhere, they hear it, like they're...
They say, oh, you must be with the Army of Youth.
Yeah, you must be with the Army of Youth.
Because that's their thing. Like
exactly.
You said, the law of impartment.
Yeah. And it's fascinating because... the more that people understand these concepts, and the more that like intention, like in the training, the Netflix, the 6,000 soldiers, the more that we help them in this, they begin to understand more. Like they're feeling closer and closer. Like Watchwords is powerful because Watchwords comes from the military terminology. The watchman would be on a tower on the watch, and it'd be like, watchman, what are the nights? They would ask the watchman in the Bible, Isaiah 21, watchman, what are the night? And the watchman had to respond, the morning cometh and also the night. If they didn't, that means they were asleep and they would be killed because they were sleeping on the job and endangering the entire city. There's another story in the Bible where the guy was like, he was imposing as an enemy, and he looked like him and everything, and he's like, you're not one of us, from one of their tribes or something in time of war. It's like, you're not one of us. It's like, yeah, I am. It's like, okay, say Shibboleth. And he was saying it, he's like, Shibboleth. And they knew, just because the way he said it or the word he used, they killed him on the spot because he didn't get the watchword. You're not part of our community because you don't understand the words, which is really interesting because, like, if I'm a mechanic and I'm walking in and I could put on a surgeon's like garment, I could put on a stethoscope and a face mask, and I walk into a hospital and I start talking to the nurses and doctors, instantly, just because of the words, the jargon, the terminology, the watchwords, they would automatically know you don't belong here.
Right.
So every thriving business, community, occupation, everything has watchwords. And it's like what you were saying, when you first came here, you're like, there's a lot of watchwords I don't understand. But then you're like, oh, I'm starting to understand terminology, and I get it, this makes sense, and it's exciting.
Oh, you're right. Every field has its own watchwords. Insurance has their own watchwords, and most people are like, what is that?
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
And insurance agents like Pastor Smith, with that background, like when you talk together, you understand, you got that common ground. So this is all community. This is a common commonality that we have. And so by being very intentional, like our origin story is basically like the desire to do so many different things in ministry, but realizing to do it well, we have to dedicate our life to that, and because we don't necessarily see to dedicate the life to restaurants or dedicate the life to like this, but what if we can empower others to identify their talents and they dedicate their life to that, and they wouldn't otherwise do that if they didn't come in contact with the Army of Youth. So we almost vicariously can do all forms of ministry by training the trainers and sending them out and equipping them. Then it's like people see that like that need that painful experience, and then the aha, the epiphany, and they're like, I'm bought into that story. Like I resonate with that, and because this is why we're here, and that's like part of the origin story.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting, and there's 7. And what the these are YouTube trainers who, they got like 300,000 subscribers, and all they do is teach people how to grow on YouTube. And they said, without exception, every single channel that has exponentially grown or has developed a community, subscriber base of hundreds of thousands or millions, they've all followed these. Whether some people did it on accident, but the people that grow the best do it intentionally. So if you do 4 of them, you'll grow. But if you do 7 of them, you'll grow faster. And so what they do is, like, everyone that I coach, the very first thing that I do is, you want to start a channel on YouTube, you think your channel is the recording the videos and doing the video, but it's not. It is mapping out these 7 things and being extremely intentional, and every video you do is an opportunity to reinforce one of these 7 things. And it's really mind-blowing when I heard that. And they're like, the first book we always get them to watch is the book Primal Branding, and that's where he talks about these 7 things.
Primal Branding?
Yeah, and I read it, and it's in the business terminology. He's using watchwords that doesn't really sound like Christianity or ministry, so I just remixed them so watchwords that our community can accept.
Primal what?
Primal Branding. And it's all about branding. He talks about the biggest companies in the world, like Nike and others. And common enemy. That was one of it too. So we'll just say enemies. We all like need something that we unite to throw rocks at. Like we're waging war against living an aimless life. Everyone in the army of youth is in agreement that we don't want to live aimless lives, and we don't want anyone to have to suffer, because an aimless life is a living death. That is our rally cry, that we are like going to war, and we recognize this is what we're waging war. And another thing that we're waging war against is inactivity in the Lord's service. So everything that we do is for the purpose of encouraging people to dedicate their lives to Christ's service. Like you were just saying, it pains you to see people in the pews, the gifts are in the house, but they're not using their gifts. That's the war, that's the enemy. That the enemy is not a person or a ministry. The enemy is like people idle, warming the pews who have gifts. So everyone here, we see that and it hurts us, and we're willing to die for this cause. So that's that's part of the community building. I should erase that, but having common community, and it's really fascinating because I read the book Primal Branding, and everything that's in that book is the exact same concepts that he talks about here. He talks about your origin story. He talks about your watchwords, your future-based cause, and the enemy that you have. And so one thing I'm realizing is that everyone who's ever built a massive community or outreach and stuff, they understand these things. They might call them different watchwords, right, but they're the same because they're laws of heaven, and you can see them in Christianity. You can see them in Christ. Just like you were making the connections, it works. That's what Jesus did. So we just do what Jesus did, and we apply that to the ministry so that people can feel like they have a home within. It's like the niche it's like niching, and because in Christianity it's so big, it's easy to get lost. Like we have family in Christ, but then like you really feel that in the Army of Youth, like there's like real family and connection and love, and so we want to give that experience to as many people as we can. So these are the things that we need to.
Well, one thing we need to do is we all need to invest in everybody wearing a shirt that says the Army of Youth, because that would definitely bring
camaraderie.
Thank you. I always have a hard time saying that word.
That's because Kamran's sitting right next to you. I think of him every time I say camaraderie. Kamran.
I know. I have a hard time saying camaraderie. My tongue, because of my southern accent. Is like,
you're right. And I was doing a study on giftology and course. I mean, it was a course on giving gifts. It was really mind blowing, but. I think T-shirts. What?
Never mind.
What?
He's helping teach. He's teaching.
Oh, but did something come to your mind? What happened?
I was just like, what? How do you get on to giftology now?
Because of the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I sidetracked it. Sorry, it was me.
Wait, never mind.
I was thinking of the 7 things of the community.
Icon,
how we become part of the community.
Yeah, the T-shirt would be an icon.
An icon, okay.
Because we wear that when it's an icon, it represents that.
It makes you feel like you're part of the community.
Yeah, and what I really want to do is I want to get together people. Oh man, I've been going through this basically by myself, and sometimes with Mom over the last since 2018, so 2.5 years or so, and it's been challenging. But I want to get together people who love this type of stuff and do a think tank, so we can be extremely intentional about this, because I really believe that the sooner we do this in our ministry, the more we will have rapid growth and momentum. And it's in the intangibles. Leaders think in terms of intangibles. And the more that we understand this and we're intentional about it, it's not accidental, it's intentional, then we could really...
These are the things I like to work on.
I know you do.
Yeah.
You have this gift, Mom has this gift, I do, and Kim loves this, and there's probably other people, but I haven't really talked to them so much to discover that, but realizing that these people, we love this stuff.
I like to think that, yeah.
Yeah, I do too, because I see the results, and Tina, it's so interesting, because Tina's verbal and she'll share, she's like, yeah, I'm always asking them, why do you what do you like about the Army of Youth? I'm trying to understand.
Right.
And it's interesting because all their answers just go back to one of these.
Right.
And it's just in my mind, I'm like, that was designed. And in their mind, there's just something about the Army of Youth that was just so meaningful to me. And there's 3 resources. I think if that team went through together, it would transform the way we
Well, and you're doing your homework when you talk to Tina and different people.
Yeah.
That helps us all to find out what are the main calling cards, because those are the same ones that we'll be using on the internet as calling cards, because that's what they're needing to hear. Right.
Everything.
Because that is needed for the microblogs.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, because that'll make a difference.
Everything we do would be on the foundation of.
And it's hard for me to understand that people want to be on teams, but this culture in the United States, I have never, because I'm not on a team with anything except for the God's team only thing.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how many people find their identity.
Yeah.
In like a football team. They will kill you. They will smash your car.
Yeah.
They will break your car. They will
Yeah.
burn your house. They will beat you up because you wore the wrong shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how people are they identify with an icon or with a team and being part of a team. And I'm like, dude, I can't get that. But man, it is so thick. I mean, it's thick in the United States. We're conditioned and trained to be, what team are you on? You know, I mean, it's like you have to choose a team.
Do you think that's a United States
No,
thing,
it's a God
or do you
thing.
think like God implemented that
this
in
team or that
human
team?
nature?
It must be a God thing, because you're either on this team or
think
that
about
team.
it. You have Revelation 12. There's a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the devil and his angels. You see Genesis 3:15, the gospel message. The first time the gospel was preached to Adam in the garden was, I will put enmity between thee,
There's a war going on.
from Satan's seed and the woman's seed, which is his church. And then Revelation 12, there's a war. The dragon was wroth with the woman, his true church. Satan and God's church, they're at war. So you see Christ and Satan. And the word Satan means enemy. So the very foundation of the plan of salvation, it follows all of these things. So I think it's like deeply embedded us. And every like football team, sports team, they have these. They have these things.
Man, do they have those.
They do.
I mean, they know theirs. They put it on a piece of paper, and that's what they stick to. It doesn't change every other year. It stays the same, and they build more what do you call it, followers. They keep following it, and every year it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
And this is what I learned from Primal Branding. Consistency creates familiarity, and familiarity produces preference. And preference is the name of the game in 2020.
Well, McDonald's, they're yellow in. They're arches, they call them.
Yeah.
You don't have to be able to read, but when you see an arch, you know it's McDonald's.
And I can smell a McDonald's from blocks away. Those things have a stench to them. I'm like, man, there's a McDonald's around here. I can know it. But,
wow, that's neat. So you're saying our community needs to build our watchwords, our icon, our belief system, our recognizing our enemy. We're all on the same page. We all using watchwords that we created for our team. Our team has these words. We created our own word.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And all that is what the secular business world calls branding. That's really all it is. This, at its core, what I learned from Primal Branding is like that's actually what branding is.
Yeah, that's pretty simple philosophy. I don't even know you need to read the book now because that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
If it's your niche.
Right.
Yeah. It all makes sense.
But the thing that the book, not just the book was short, but I'm not necessarily saying the book is what we should go through, but there were some videos that were profound. You'd be amazed when you go through it. I know like with information you get overwhelmed quickly, but as you're going through it, you'll see examples, they're testimonies, they're case studies. They're like for instances. Mm-hmm. So like we think this and we might spend like an hour or two on like going on this trail, but then when we watch the video we realize, oh, we went on the wrong trail. So that was an hour or two wasted that could have been saved by a 20-minute video talking about identity shift, helping your new people coming into your community, your course, your whatever, and helping them to shift their identity to become like basically
not destroying the thing, but shifting their own identity.
Yes.
Just saying I am
statements, yeah.
Okay.
And that's what he calls in this book a title of a self-identifying statement. And it's just like, and that's why we're saying gospel soldiers. Like, I am a gospel soldier. What does that mean? By giving them an identity, we can define it. And based on what is a gospel soldier, we go to the Word of God and say, okay, who does Christ say that we are? What is our identity in Christ? And help define that, and we just attach that to gospel soldier. Just using the Word of God for all of these things. What does God say our enemy is? Satan, self, it's sin, like what does God's, like what are our beliefs? It's the Word of God. It's how to study the Bible. It's like really knowing the will of God and following that. That's our culture. It's like the law is the law of heaven. God's Word has authority beyond all other system, policy, whatever. Obeying the Word of God. That is like the principle of Protestantism, sola scriptura. It's like that's a belief. So even the Protestant movement had these 7 things. But it's
Do you know, it's funny that hearing you say that, family, I was thinking about family ties. I was thinking about how many families and children are just wandering the way because they don't know where they belong.
Yeah.
But I just saw this one lady, she was from the military. She started dating this guy. She put that whole family on a track where they all had identity for the first time ever. Before they were just all floating in the wind, just what do you call it? Once they identified who they are, she made them all buy a shirt. She bought shirts for them all, had their last name on it. Boom. That's who you are. And they would wear them, like all of us, yeah. And before they would be like, oh, I have to wear it because I'm so embarrassed, you know?
Yeah.
But after a while, it was like, they became proud of their name.
It's like, this is who I am.
This is who I am, and this is what we stand for, and this is what we are, and this is where we're going. Mm-hmm. And it gave them something to identify with, and you saw them change.
Yeah.
They all changed. It was like, dude, they were all just floating in the wind, like, just like doing their job. But now they were like, they knew who they were. And it changed their life.
I completely agree.
And their destiny.
So this works on a family level, a church level, on a ministry level, on a business level.
Wow.
So then what I really want to do in the Army of Youth is I want to teach people, like, how can you do this for your life, your family, your ministry, your church, and like be intentional with our life, because intentionality is one of our values. Because this is a concept I feel that the business world kind of has this hidden, and we just read a verse, Luke 16 says that the children of this world are wiser than the children of light, and it's kind of like it's all flooded throughout the scriptures, but as Christians that are like the only thing that we read is the Bible, and we don't really go in other places. And unless you're a business owner, even business owners, they go in and they study this in the business world, apply it to business, and they don't see the eternal principles and the eternal impact that they can have, and so we compartmentalize.
Right.
But in the Army of Youth, I want to help connect it so we can speak the language that will attract the business people, because they're like, I want this, but then like use it as evangelism through like showing them, pointing them to Christ. And then take this principle that is hidden in the business world and show Christians how they can apply it in ministry, in life, in their talents, in their families, and then simplify it using Christian biblical watchwords. That's a lot of the stuff I want to teach in the Netflix.
That's like a whole nother, what do you call it, world, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you start out basic and it pushes you to the next level. Each time you do the bottom level, it pushes you up as you're learning.
Yeah.
It won't be long, you'll be...
And that's why it would be nice if we could keep track. And
I would love it if that angle turned up the other way.
Yeah. No, I hear you. That would be good.
Well, hey, that would be our new one, where everybody starts from the top and comes down. We start from the bottom and we go up.
That would be good. Yeah, it's like Peter's ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 Peter 1 talks about like that ladder of progress, and it's true. It's being faithful in that which is least, and then working your way up.
Pushes you up.
Yeah, and
it pushes itself up. That's the amazing part. You don't pull people up; it pushes them up. If he asks me a question, I don't know it, and he knows that I'm his leader. I have to go and find that information. So now I've just learned a skill that I didn't know, and then I'm imparting it to him, which I'm doing the imparting, which that's the law of impartment.
That's right.
And so now I'm giving it to him. So now he moves a little further, and I've just moved up just because I had to get the information
just
to
by
him.
virtue of helping someone.
Yeah, and then him, when somebody comes on, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, well, it's each one of us doing that. Isn't that cool?"
It's
a
exciting.
Little bit of
and I really appreciate that, because I, like, personally, there's a lot of ways you can learn that, but God used isogenics to teach me that principle, and I'm, like, really grateful for that, because, like, understand the concept, like, just by you helping others, you by virtue, like, get helped, and I'm like, that is a law of heaven that is so beautiful, that we need to teach all these ministries, because there's a lot of competition and people fighting, just being like...
They want their position. They're like, dude, I've been wanting to be the head of the children's department, say, for years, and I finally hear, I'm like, man, that girl's really moving up here faster, she's going to take my position.
Let's hide information from her, not show her what she can do, or let's make it harder for her, put obstacles, use my influence, my power, whatever. And people did that stuff to me too.
They do that stuff. And worse than that, they don't want it to grow. They want it to stay. That's why churches don't grow. They stagnate. They stay right there.
Because they're comfortable in what they have.
They're scared that somebody might
take away what they have. They're thinking of scarcity and they're thinking of loss.
Instead of thinking of how can I grow with this?
And the cause of God, the big picture.
Yeah. So if that person moves up, just think, well then now you're a director, so now you can even start more departments.
That's right.
And bigger and grow. Instead they stay small because they're scared of growth.
And that's another reason why I really like the Army of Youth, is because we can create this culture. Because working in another ministry or church or school, I've found the limit for all these organizations in my experience that I've been a part of has always been the leader's lid. Yeah, just hitting that lid, and I'm like, man, I want to grow and I want to help. I want to help everyone to grow, but if there's not the support of leadership, it's hard. Yeah. So then, what's nice about starting an organization is that we can create the culture, we can design it according to our what God has showed us through His Word, and really follow the principles that we want to, as we see in the Scriptures, and I'm excited about that.
This is all good stuff.
Yeah.
Man, I've been jazzed. You really opened some stuff in my head.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord. I'm excited. Wow.
So I'm.
Especially the more I get the bigger picture of everything, you know what I'm talking about? It just opens more and more, but everybody feels that way.
I find it interesting that you say that, because a few months ago you're like, I don't want the big picture. It's just give me the details. Let me get this done.
I want to work, just work.
Yes,
you know?
I don't feel like I'm getting anything done. But there's a balance, because and that was what the E-Myth Revisited book talked about, is a tension between the manager and the entrepreneur, visionary, because the manager's like systems, processes, production. Let's produce. Let's get stuff done. And then the visionary's like, let's always talk about the future, big picture. We're going over, and it's
what
this
do we need?
The possibilities.
They like to put systems in place. They don't want to run a system, but they want it in place.
Yeah.
Okay, so they know what they see what has to happen.
Yeah.
And I keep on thinking it's such a simple thing. I feel like I'm guilty. I feel guilty, like I'm not doing anything. But you told me it's no, we have to have that. And to me, I'm like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything. And Cameron, I heard him say that day. He's like, this is too easy. I'm not doing anything. All I'm doing is just I'm done. I'm like, that's because you're in your gift, buddy.
I know.
You put it in your USB, and be like, whoa, there's a beast.
I was just trying to tell there's so many people would be super overwhelmed to do what he just did.
Oh.
And these overview systems are incredible, huge blessings.
Oh, they are
And I talked to him about the system interviewer before he didn't have the communication skills. And so he's been going through the communication challenge. He understands a lot more. He's a different person now than he was before. So he's willing to get on Zoom and interview people and ask them questions and be like, why do you do what you do? Can you show me your process? And build that system video. Wow. And then he's willing to take it and document it so people have it written.
Well, I know he must be communicating, because I saw him on one of the chats, and he was like, he asked somebody a question. And he was encouraging or something. I was like, boy, come on. I was like, dude, you're definitely moving into that leadership role. Yeah, I love it. Especially speaking at church, and
I know.
Those are all leadership skills.
Testimony. It's all leadership skills.
Yeah, amazing.
It's a blessing.
Yeah, I love it. He's become a leader and doesn't even know it. Stay humble. You go for it, buddy.
Yeah, definitely stay humble. But part of my challenge, I'm I like to focus on what to focus on. I heard one entrepreneur once say, he's like, what's your biggest difficulty? He says, I'm crippled by opportunities.
I know.
It's just wow, that's
I understand
deep.
that.
Yeah. It's there's so much possibility and opportunities that we gotta tackle. What are we gonna tackle?
Well, I think what we wanted to really tackle was the microblog. I think that was really well, and also we said that the next thing that the ministry has to have is finance. We want to grow the financial side, because the financial side, then we can grow in other areas by doing that. So
money answereth all things.
That's what Ecclesiastes says.
What do you say?
The money answereth all things is what Ecclesiastes says.
Oh yeah, huh?
It's the Bible.
It's the Bible.
It's weird.
So that's what we have to do, because and we're growing. It pushes us up the ladder. Every little piece we do, we're going up it. So it's not like we're falling behind anymore. We're just growing up.
And the problem with me is finance is I like selling things in terms of helping people make good decisions that are going to benefit them. But as far as finances, that's not my strength, and I know it's organizational finances. That's not an area of expertise that I have. The thing that I really like doing is helping people to do the next thing that will help them to grow in using their talents. My strength is teaching. My strength is mentoring and helping someone get to the next step And that's what I love spending like, everything that I do in ministry and life, and it's all in my mind for the purpose of helping others to grow. That's the end result. And so like the finances is really easy for me to neglect and ignore. And I know that like God has a cattle on 1,000 hills, and I believe that. And I also know that God has financial laws that if you violate them, then it's like, yeah, God can provide, but especially when you do what He says regarding those finances too. And it's like I want to be obedient to all of His principles. And I know that some people are more gifted in that area. And I've also read that it's like it's good to let like businessmen take care of the business side of ministry and spiritual.
Well, when you try to do it all, it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't work. So nobody can do it all.
I have no idea how to organize the
financial
stuff.
Well, I think as we're doing the onboarding thing and we're putting people down there that we can do the filter with, that instead of you trying to memorize in your head who all says they can do finances or whatever, all we'd have to do is push the filter and it would give the list, and we could talk to them one-on-one what their expertise is. You know, HR can call and talk to them and say, hey, so you like finances? What have you been in? What have you done?
Yeah.
It'll help us to figure out who, so we can put that team together. You know what I'm talking about? That's not.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's not hard to do.
I know, that's because it's your gift.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So all I need from Conrad is to make sure that he shows me how to, or somebody show me how to use that filter, so that we can encourage the onboarders to make sure that they make this page up, to make the gallery, keep it up to date. So as they're doing one, they can go ahead and put it on. As a matter of fact, we can just talk to each person that has their name beside something, that they go ahead and do it, and that'll be part of the onboarding process. It has to be on it. And I think Leah, I'll check to see today if Leah put it on the system help, because that's one thing we said to her. Is she still with us?
I don't know if she's going to do it today.
Doesn't matter, but I'll keep an eye open for it. It's be on my radar.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
so I can put it on my to-do list to check with Leah.
Which is reasonable. It's 1 a.m. for her. Yeah. She probably fell asleep or something.
Well, it's off of what we were talking about. It wasn't what she was.
Yeah.
She signed on for. She changed.
And part of the reason, I know the time is late for her, but part of the reason why I was willing to talk about that with her too is because I think Leah also has like visionary personality.
She does.
So a lot of the stuff that we're saying, I think, is right up her alley if it was at a different time.
I agree. I agree with you 100% because I picked up on that too.
Yeah.
Because she gets things. She gets like, okay, why?
Yeah.
Why we do what we do.
Yeah. She's really got that mind where she can see that picture and focus on what needs to.
Well,
she can zoom out and in when necessary.
Right. And because she is a leader and she does have her own Bible study. Is she the one that started? No, Shatala is the one that started our prayer line.
Yeah.
That we're all involved on. But so Leah has joined all those people, so she has leadership skills, or she would not be able to do that. So she has the system somewhat in her head how to work systems. So that's amazing.
It is really good.
Yeah, it'll develop her even too, like it's developing me.
The more people that understand, like casting the vision is something really important, and it's like I see with this, like I'd like to do. Daniel would be perfect with it. Is to take some of these videos and clip them.
Yes.
So it's just that context of like a powerful nugget. Like there's some clips in this conversation that would be really good to take and scale. Because if people just go through it, they can understand more of like what is our origin story.
Can Daniel make a video on how to do that so we can start doing that? Having somebody else, because I know he's tied up with his thing. Is there not in a way?
He wants to. He wants to make a video for doing that.
Oh, praise the Lord.
Oh, who's going to do that? I know Rebecca likes
coming on. So we'll have people coming on. We don't have to worry about that. We're just going to get the video done so that when it comes time, we can say, hey, could you at least look through this and tell me what you think? And if they say, oh, I'd like to do that, then good.
Part of the challenge is Daniel has the skill for the... he has a skill for video editing.
Yes, he does.
But as far as like how to use that skill in the context of our mission, our strategy, our methods, our message, or where we're trying to go... That's a learning curve for him. He's got the skill for the program, how to use that. But that's all we want from him right now. He don't have to have it all. But if we just he doesn't need to teach people about the skill of how to do it. We really need someone to take initiative and try to like identify these clips and then cut them out. Because we have training. Like when it comes to just basic skills for video editing, we've got a whole course called Full-Time Filmmaker that teaches people who wants to it's actually a course teaching people how to be a full-time video editor, filmmaker, that you can turn that calling into a career, and you can actually do like weddings and others and ministries and different stuff, and how to organize your files, how to edit the video. and it's just like a course to teach people how to start.
That, can you send that link to Morgan, please?
For video
so she
editing?
can sign up with the Army of Youth? Yes. She spends more time filming than any person I've ever known. And she puts little faces and does all kinds of crazy stuff. And that would give her purpose. Because she's right now, I told her this morning, because I was praying yesterday, the Lord told me to tell her. And when I told her, she's like, yeah, I know, Mom. I'm like, how do you know? And she goes, because I see that. I'm like, well, good, now it's been confirmed.
What's her problem?
She's very lonely.
Yeah.
It's because you have a big hole.
Right.
Well,
yeah,
now she's looking for friends.
She is.
Well,
she's looking for community.
Right. And so if you try to fill that hole with the wrong stuff, you're going to have a lot of bad stuff.
Sure.
And I told her, I said, Morgan, you need to be filling that with the Lord. She goes, I know, but it's so boring reading the Bible, Mom, and I can't tell you how boring it is. I'm like, it is. But when you have a purpose of why you're reading the Bible, like if you're working on something, you're trying to find a scripture for it.
Right.
Oh, guess what? Next thing you know, you're digging into the Bible.
Yeah.
You need something to cause you to dig into the Bible.
Yeah.
But when you don't have a purpose to dig into it, you're like, I don't have anything I want to ask the Bible. I don't have anything. I don't know. I don't even know.
Yeah, sure.
But when you're working on something.
And with people.
And so this would be something for her that she's always.
You're saying that she's recording videos and then editing them?
No, she doesn't know how to video them, but they have all the little things that you can put on them, like the ears,
the stickers and the
stickers
things.
And stuff. Yeah, and so I noticed that she does stuff like that, and she loves being behind her film thing all the time. She loves taking pictures. She loves, she's always doing stuff with her thing, and I'm like,
well, we're praying for someone who could help post stories. Those are called stories.
I was going to say, because she sits there with Solomon. This is what they do. They do this for an hour. They look at all the pictures they've taken. And he gets so engrossed. He loves watching himself on TV. They just sit there and watch themselves all day long. I'm like, how do you do that? And how do you take pictures of yourself? This is crazy. I've never seen anybody. She does. She loves it. She goes, Mom, take pictures of me. And she, not that she's in love with herself, but they just sit there and look at pictures. And they laugh. And
Some people love pictures and memories
and they go through it. I'm like, you've already been through it.
Because it's all a form of entertainment.
It must be, but she can do it.
Because it's like watching a movie, but it's kind of like going through your own movie of your life and look at their experiences. It's kind of like people sit down and they go through a story album and a photo album.
Yeah.
People love photo albums. When I see a photo album that comes out, I leave the room. I'm like, they're going to ask me to sit down. I'm leaving this. I'm not even going to be in the way of temptation. I do not want to sit down. I don't want to be disrespectful and say, I'm not interested in your photos. It's not personal. I do not like photos. This would be extremely painful for me to sit down. And if you ask me this, I'm going to be very uncomfortable. I won't tell you no, but I'm not going to be happy. So I will disappear in a room when photo albums come out. Just to be respectful and avoid that.
I love how this is painful.
It is painful. No, seriously. I sat through like 3 of those. I'm like, I got to have a better system. So when I see they share a photo album and, oh yeah, and people are getting so excited, in the excitement, that's when I disappear. I'm gonna be somewhere else. I'll walk around the block if I need to.
I'm sorry, that's the best I've ever heard. These people gotta go.
But my point is, some people have that gift, and I know they do, and they love photo albums.
Oh, it drives me nuts. I'm like,
dude,
how long can you look at that? Yeah. And it makes me nauseous.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong about it. It's just
who they are.
It's just who they are, and God has different gifts for that.
So if we can use that gift that she has, man, I would love her to. But you said that there was a course that she could take. She could sign up with the Army Youth, pay the $49, and she could take that course, and she could use it. And she would love it. She'd be learning something. It'd be a skill she could use. That'd be good. What do you think? No?
It would be a skill she could use. I was just trying to process how that would all work. We have it. We gave it to Daniel so he can go through that. Does she like she's taking photos and videos, and it's good to have a purpose with it. It's kind of hard if she doesn't have a vision for why she wants to edit them.
I don't know that she's really edited them much. She takes a lot of them, and then because her phone has that little app, you can add things to it. She's always playing around with the different apps.
Well, let me say this. I think I understand what you're saying. We see what she's doing. Mm-hmm. We don't necessarily know why she's doing it.
Right.
And if we understand why she's doing it, what need she's filling, or what things she's satisfying,
I will find out.
We can help her to get that satisfaction, that drive of what she likes about it through a healthy, purposeful way. And it might not be the videos, what she's doing might not be what she likes, but it's why she's doing it.
I will find out.
That'd be good.
Good question. Why do you do that?
Yeah.
Oh, why do you?
Yeah. Why do we do what we do?
Why do we do what we do?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, and I know to ask some of those questions, but some of my that one to me was just over my head to even ask why. I'm like,
because we'll ask like, why would anyone want to do that? But not like, so why do you like doing that? And you're like thinking.
Yeah. I'm like. I didn't even get to that step of asking why. I'm just like, dude, I gotta leave.
But I really think that it would be good, and I pray for Morgan. I really believe it would be very good to help plug her in, because there's so much community and friends and like encouraging people that can help strengthen her. And she has talent, she has gifts, she has a purpose, she has like a calling in Christ in sharing Jesus with others. Like she can fall more and more and more in love with Jesus as the path of just shines more and more to her every day. And I really believe that like if we can find something that she would like enough to like figure out why she like what she wants and connect what she wants with what we have to offer. Just in her mind, she hasn't made the connection. She doesn't know what she doesn't know.
Right.
But as we get to know like her, what she wants and needs, not just what she's doing, but what she wants.
She doesn't know what she wants. She can't tell anybody because she don't know. She
it's hard. Yeah. And that's where I
But that's how you develop. But when you do stuff, that's when it makes you learn what you want. When you do things, that's what hobbies are about. That's why they say you go get a hobby. So when you try all different things, all of a sudden you find out what you don't like, and you find out things that you do like. And once you find you do like, then you can get it.
Absolutely. In our course about finding your life's definite aim, we call a concept like a watchword. It's like taste and see that the Lord is good. The Bible says taste and see. How do you know which dishes you like unless you taste? So you try out different things, and as you taste, whether it's graphics or whether it's insurance agent, whether it's real estate, whether it's waiting, whether it's whatever it is, you try and taste. Like I did a lot of tasting in ministry and got different experiences with different types of ministries and worked with different people and traveled around tasting, and I realized out of everything I've ever done, I like helping young people identify their talents and get active in service. And I've seen a lot of ministries that are not as effective, or a lot of 18th century models for evangelism. And I realized that technology, youth, and like talent development, like these are some of the things that I like. I've tasted, I see, and now I'm going to get more of what I like.
Wow.
And so other people going through that experience, that's why it's like, look, it's like you don't know what you do something. If you don't like it, don't quit, don't leave, don't like just drop off your communication, just let's move you to a different position and let you taste. Because there's a phase of entry level, like let's taste, and you find like, oh, I love this, and it's like, oh good, let's do more of it.
Wow.
And here's your path of ascension in the ministry, like a career path, but really just not really, but different
it helps
increasing skills.
And that's what we want to do. Wow.
Yes. So that's the goal.
She's back. Leah back?
Leah? Wow.
Hi, Leah.
Welcome back, Leah.
Hi guys, I'm sorry I got disconnected.
It's okay.
No worries. Did you fall asleep?
No,
Oh.
I got disconnected. My Wi-Fi wasn't working.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yes.
Well, it's good to hear your voice again. So as far as like the onboarding goes, like what we're talking about is kind of recruiting, and that was onboarding. But having this vision to know the path, I see that the reason why I brought this up, just really summary, bringing everything we do, like tying back together, is that there are certain people who've been with the ministry for a while, and they're like more developed and they're more deeper in these areas, and it's a lot harder to, not that it's harder to leave, it's just like you get more of your needs met the more of these that people see, and they're more, it's like going deeper with people. Like in the friendship funnel, that what we talked about, like as far as the ministry goes, there's like people will, the more of these 7 community principles, the deeper that they'll go, and the more that we're able to add value to their life, the more trust, influence, like whatever, like with these things, like our ability to influence people will be in proportion to their like trust and they feel connected and stuff. So we have a lot to offer people, and like if we have a Netflix type training, it's not just something where it's like a week, but it's like we want to have like they call it like the lifetime value of a customer. Like that's like business terms, but as far as like what I've learned with mentorship is the value of that mentorship grows the longer you know the person. It's because it's like when the person has history with maybe this struggle that God helped you overcome, or this life event that happened, your parents got divorced, or like they're mentoring you, and then you went to school here, and then you dropped out, and you decided you wanted to work here, and they understand some of the major decisions because they know more of your history. When you come to like I need to find out who I'm going to marry, then they know more about your character, your past, your desires, your goals, your history, and like their advice and counsel for that marriage like potential is far more valuable because they know who you are. And so the longer you like the mentorship is, the more value that it increases. Like this is the thing too with how it happens. So kind of like with the ministry too, I see like especially like with this Netflix concept of just training, we want to. This is what I learned from Brenda Burchard is that like in developing this information kind of business blueprint for people, helping them is like we want to think what is the lifetime. He called it an aspiration line. So what do our ideal targets, avatar audience, what is their lifetime aspirations, and how can we help them, I guess we had it here, how can we help them to develop this, in like three areas. There's like basic, and there's a like intermediate, and then there's advanced. And like one might be like how to study the Bible, finding your life's purpose. This is people just getting started, just trying to get involved. These are people who are like active in service. Like this might be how to get Bible study. This is like how to share, maybe even how to be a public speaker or something. And advanced might be like this is building your team. This is developing your organization. This is learning how to grow as an individual and just like really taking off with your church, your ministry, whatever. And so it's just like Daniel is like 18, and then in the middle, like this might be middle age, like this might be a little older, like maybe 30s, or like you have a young family or something, and this might be like you're just like full swing in your experience. And so like the value ladder, they grow up in value in our ladder, but they also like they start with their skill level, and we think the lifetime aspiration where they are, so that they could be, you know, students for life, or people that we're adding value to for their entire life. Because people who show up for like 3 months and leave, they miss out on a whole lot. But the people who are around for like 3 years or 10 years, like those are people who are like we're able to sow into their life at such pivotal times of their experience, and can help like them drastically improve all of their tomorrows the longer that they're in association with us. Now there's different ministries that help different people and their needs and interests and stuff, but as far as like our community goes, the longer they're with us, the more that we can help them throughout the duration of life, only if we're intentional about choosing how we're going to help them.
I agree.
Yeah. Just having a path, as far as onboarding, having a path for helping them to go through that. So for onboarding the people, we have to go through these people and make sure that they have all their steps together. And
Leah, are you with us still?
She's here.
Why don't we try to do that one thing together by going to the System Hub? I think it's called the System Hub.
Yeah.
And pulling up the onboarding overview. Let's see if I can do that on my own here. Let's see, Notion, where are you? I wish I could share the screen with you, Enoch. I don't know why I can't seem to pull it up.
You can share the screen. You're on
there, maybe
Discord.
It's not. You've popped the stream out to another window. Whatever that means.
hit the screen right there. That's how you share. And then, what is it? So share your screen. And then choose the screens. These are all applications. Choose a screen. Yep. And then select your whole screen. So that's screen 1. That's how you do it.
Okay. And then do I push go live?
Yes. And I'm going to leave my stream and I'm going to join. I'm going to stop streaming.
You've popped the stream out to another window. So another window's open?
Don't worry. You can just minimize that and start using yours. So Leah's on your stream.
Okay. I don't even know what you're saying because I can't find anything.
That's okay. Leah and I are looking at your screen. So
okay.
You're trying to pull up the onboarding
okay. So you guys are
project system. Yeah.
Okay.
You wanted me to see your screen?
Okay. Onboarding. We want to say it's called Operation Onboarding Overview, I believe is what we want to call it.
Yeah.
Onboarding Project Overview?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. So, Leah, do you have it pulled up on yours? Because we're going to let you change it. So what you can do is go down and then we talked about having the onboarder be able to, whoever's doing the onboarding, to go to the gallery, and it's a directory of workers. The gallery is that's the pictures of them and their information. So what we'll want to do is we'll want to make, when we onboard somebody, we'll want to make a gallery. Where do you think we should put that at?
Update the directory of workers.
Yes.
Okay.
So do we want to put that? Where do you think we should put that at? Do you think we should put it as a 2 or a 3 or a 4? Should it be after the discovery call, before the discovery call? Who do you think should do that? Or where do you think it should go at?
And you're talking to Leah?
Yeah. So she can hear me still or not?
Yeah, she can hear you.
Okay. We just can't hear her.
Yeah, you have to unmute yourself, which I think you know. It's a good question.
We learn by doing, right?
Yes, we do.
Conducting a discovery call.
We might have to do a part 2 also, because as it gets later, brain stops working as well.
Okay. What about making it a 3 right after the discovery call?
Wouldn't that be a good, it's a similar activity as when you're creating the project view on Notion?
Oh, yes, on Notion.
So while you're doing that, it may be something you could update while you're already on Notion.
Okay, so where are you?
That's number 4.
Number 4, thank you. Okay.
All this stuff on 4.
Provide access to getting started, report checklist, provide access to. So this is all.
That's all on the project board.
Okay.
So if we click the italics, Carmen, what's that little I thing called? It's not a
question mark?
Cursor. It's a italicized.
Italicized is being sideways.
Yeah, you're right.
What I thing are you talking about?
You know the blinking thing that tells you where you're clicking, where you're about to type. Just put it just before the 7.
Oh, I don't know what that thing is called.
Oh, really? I used to know.
Cursor?
Yeah, cursor. Definitely click that, and then you could just click it again so you can edit. Are you? Oh, you cannot save changes. What? Are you not able to edit this?
Might not be.
Oh no, Carmen. I don't think she can edit.
She can't edit.
The System Hub.
Cannot save changes. Onboarding project review.
Diana's a dangerous one to give editing permissions to.
It really is. I'm still not there yet. I would probably rather not be on there actually yet. I don't feel like I'm ready yet.
Okay. Well then maybe we won't do that.
So don't do that. Let Leah do it.
But Leah's not dangerous to.
No, she's not. She understands that what she can do is undo or whatever. So let's let her do that.
We can let her edit. Oh yeah, she didn't have access either. Well, that's good. We give her full access.
Full. VIP.
Not VIP.
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. VIP.
All access pass.
All access.
Okay, good.
Oh, funny.
Good job. So she can do that, or you can do it.
Yeah, I could probably onboard project overview. Leo, why are you muted? All right, I'm loading mine up, and I'm going to as soon as it uploads.
Okay. And yeah, we should take a break for our brain.
Yeah, that'd be good. Drink some water. And I'm telling you, this thing has been so helpful. This book is probably the best resource I've ever seen on the subject of the branding stuff.
Oh.
Okay, so this would be number 4, and then it is updating. What's the thing called? Updating.
The gallery.
Directory of workers.
Directory of workers.
Oh, what I could do is. Oh, here's another thing too, Diana.
Mm-hmm.
So directory of workers is a page.
Uh-huh.
So if you notice on your screen, because you can see me type as I type, right?
Yes.
Number 4, updating.
Yep.
Okay, so if I hit the @ symbol and I type in directory, then it's going to search through every single page that says directory.
Oh.
I can do directory of workers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's what we have.
Gotcha.
And who does that?
Well, anybody's onboarding, but nobody has a title to that one yet.
So,
We don't have a person yet.
okay, not a person. Okay. But that would be a data entry.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the human... See, that's the thing where I'm confused about, because having to develop finances, the publishing, and the human resources. I know in startups, like one person many times will hold multiple hats until you can... and E-Myth Revisited suggested start at the entry level, develop that system, and train someone to replace you. And that's how he recommended doing that. But I'm like, how do you balance between... Like, there's a lot of HR work to do.
Right, and see, that's what he's not telling you, because the truth is, whenever you start a business, you have to have HR, and you have to have the 3 departments already set up, believe it or not, because who's going to
What
run
do you mean by set up? Like what?
Well, there's some parts of that what you guys have. You already have a part, which is the finance department. You just don't have anybody. You have somebody managing it, however, very lightly.
Which she does say to do that, though.
Right, because every department has to have somebody that's working in that department.
Yes, for sure.
And it gives them a chance to learn more of their skill in that area, or to delegate, or whatever, or say what I'm looking for, or what I need, and get people to do that. And so then it goes from the ground up.
And we have courses on onboarding and HR stuff too.
Oh.
But like, it would require someone who has focus to like do that and be like, hey, if you want to know how you could really master your human resources skill and gift and hone that with continued education, like go through this course. And it's from other people. You can go through this course and help us to implement it, because I can't go through it.
Oh, I got you. Oh, I see what you're saying. In other words, anybody that joins the Army of Youth that is part of the team.
Yeah, for HR.
Yes.
And they know that's their talent, their gift, their interest.
Yes. Because see, that was one of the areas that I struggled with when I did management. I could manage. The problem is delegating it was a big thing.
Delegating the management?
Not management, but just learning to... HR has a way of talking to people. There's a lot of different branches of HR, and so my thing is, as a manager, and mine is an HR, because when you're hiring people and you have people working for them, then I have an HR department with the corporate level, right? And they hire all the managers. Okay, so with mine, I have all my staff, so they have different things that they do. I had an assistant manager, she did one thing, and I have the maintenance guy. Then I have to deal with all the different people that I hire to come in and do jobs for me, right? So learning to be able to communicate with them, tell them what I want them to do, and do it in a professional way, not as a dictator, like this is what I want done. Okay, let me know, and this needs to be done. Because I would have to keep, that's my only way I knew how to do it, is the old-fashioned way. My deadline is at 3 o'clock today, please let me know how much is done. Because I don't want them draining my pocketbook at work, because I take care of their pocketbook. So it's like, I don't want you draining me, and this is what I need done, and I need it by 3. And I would save them a lot of money in a lot of different areas, because they were hiring outside things that my maintenance guy, I would show him just basic stuff, and this is how you find this information. But there was areas I still felt like I wish I was better at. Like my daughter told me ahead of time, she goes, Mom, I just want you to know that your assistant manager is not your friend like you think she is. She doesn't have your back. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, she's setting you up. And I'm like, why would she do that? She didn't want to be the manager. She stepped down to assistant manager. She goes, because she really wants to be the manager. And I'm like, but she stepped down. Why would she want to be the manager? Well, she really did want to be the manager. I didn't know that. I'm thinking if you stepped down, she felt insecure. She felt like, because they were so hard on her, she felt inadequate. This girl is like a genius, like computer-wise. That girl can like fly.
But the higher management is what set her up to fail.
Right.
They're so intense.
Yeah, because she couldn't handle adversity, and she couldn't handle the pressure, confrontation at all. Me, I'm like, throw me in there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna come out on top. So, anyways,
doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah, me either. I'll look for it. I feel guilty that I'm like, throw me in. But yeah, and that was scary to her. Intimidated her. She doesn't like conflict. And I'm like, well, when you're in management, you have to have conflict. That's what management is.
Conflict resolution.
That's what you do. That's what your job title is. And so anyways, you're always looking to solve a problem. That's what management does. So that was what she struggled with. The IT person, man, this girl was amazing. And she was a good teacher. I'd be like, well, how do I do this? And she'd just sit there, and everything she showed me, I would memorize. I mean, I could actually retain it all and just fly through it. Never would have to ask her again. I was like, wow, she's an excellent teacher. Whoa. And I asked her, I said, you ever thought about starting your own business? She's all like, she goes, yeah. She said, I have. And I said, you really need to. I said, start at $20 an hour. An assistant, you know, and just put yourself out there. I said, you'll make really good money. People are looking for assistants all the time because people don't know how to navigate on the computer.
Yeah.
They don't know how to do this. I said, I would hire you.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't bother me at all to pay you $20 an hour to come and you sit with me for an hour and you show me what I need to know.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I'm stealing from you. It would be like, what's the big deal? I said, you would stay busy. You would never be out of work ever. Because there's so much to learn on the internet. I mean, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you're a natural learner like that on the computer and you love that stuff, which I don't like, just show me what I have to do to get through my.
Yeah, just tell me how to get from A to B.
Yeah, because this is what I have to do.
Shortcuts.
Yeah,
saving time.
Yeah, because this is what I need today. I don't even know how this all works. I just need to do this, get my work done. Yeah, and so it was amazing. But now she's back in there, and they've not been able to hire a manager, and I'm like, dude, I don't know how they're doing it. Everybody told me when I talked to different people who live there, they're like, I feel so sorry for her. She's just running ragged. And I'm like, they'll kill her if she ain't careful.
I'm glad you talk fast, because if you talk slow, it would be really hard to, like, hear all this stuff. You can fit a lot in a short amount of time.
Am I overloading your brain?
No, not at all.
You could probably do, like, what do you do when you're watching those ones really fast? You pull out keywords. This keyword, that keyword, that.
No, I could hear every word that they're saying when I'm listening really fast.
Good.
So it's like, you're not too fast or saying too much. I'm just like, wow, if someone else was saying what you're saying,
they went to sleep.
I would like tell them, I would interrupt them a lot sooner.
Slow down.
Just be like, no, not slow down, just like stop, you're talking too slow.
Oh, gotcha.
You have too much to say and you're talking too slow. But you got a lot to say and you talk really fast, so you cover a lot of ground, so it's easy to follow.
Wow, that's cool.
For me.
I was going to ask you too. You said you're going through the third book right there. When you're going through that, are you doing the speed reading or are you doing intentional reading? What are you doing?
No, I'm just listening to the audiobook.
Oh, it's just the audiobook.
Yeah, I'm just listening to the audiobook.
And is that?
I don't really read. Like I haven't really turned the pages here except for like just to show it like that. That's the only pages I've turned.
So the audiobook, did you pay for that?
Yeah, I paid for the audiobook.
Because it comes with that course?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I got the audio. So all the books that I ever do, I can't stand reading. I'm not a reader.
Don't have time.
Right. And even though I like learned some like speed reading things, like if I have to, like I know how to like.
So you're doing the same thing on the screen too.
Yeah, I'm doing. It's speed reading. You apply to everything on the screen, through Messenger, through email, through Notion, through all things you can apply. You can just notice like what the tips that they showed you. It's a powerful skill. But I don't read books unless I'm like studying it. Like there's only been like 4 books probably in my life outside of the Bible that I've actually like really studied and physically felt.
That's what what's his name said that he failed at Shell, whatever his name is. Rochelle?
Yeah.
Rochelle.
Craig
Rochelle.
Uh-huh.
Rochelle said he said that all those years he studied and he said go to take a test and it was so much information. He said through seminary school, and he said I just felt like I was really not doing a very good job. And finally one of his friends was like, well, because there's a lot of books.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and he said well, why are you doing that way? He goes, you just, yeah. And he goes, and he said after that, he said it was amazing how much principles are just in the first sentence and the last sentence.
Yeah.
And he was able to just fly through these books.
And I learned from Craig Rochelle that when he travels, he listens to audiobooks. And his system, he explained in one of the leadership podcasts, I've never heard people do that. I was like, whoa, I'm going to start picking up that habit in 2016. He said, what I do is I listen to audiobooks anytime I travel. I love audio. I do it all the time. I listen at times 2 speed for things that are like I'm not too sure about, but it's a new book. But when I find that I'm really enjoying it, then I'll go to 1.5 speed. And that way I could like really get what's going on. But CEOs listen to 52. I mean, they read 52 books a year, but a lot of times they're not reading; they're listening. That's how they're going through it faster. They're listening at times 2 speed. So that is a book a week. And I
so
heard
do you pay for these books, or are they just on?
Yeah, I have a account called Scribd, and it's $35 a year, and then I get like it's like a whole like 200,000 different books that you can choose from. And I've got books on
so once
all
you know
sorts of
the
things.
authors that you like, then those are the ones that the books that you read.
Yeah, or if I
Or
listen to a
if they
podcast which is free and someone who I like, listen, like for instance, like Andy Stanley, he interviews this guy called on habits, systems and habits for organizations, and I realized I've never heard that guy, but he has a book. So let me go look up his book. Oh, it's there. Oh, let me listen to that. So then I find it through there.
So for that, it's $35 a month or $35 a year.
A year.
Script. So in other words, you can get 1,000 books for $35 a year.
200,000.
200,000.
Yeah.
And probably all these newer books are on there, not just old books. Are just. Like,
Oh yeah, there's like I would say 7 out of 10 books that I want I find on there, which is really high.
Interesting.
And there's way more books than I can go through. But 52 books a year, like you can cruise through some books like this. I listen to it audio.
That's what I'm saying, man. Because that would. I mean, I'm still trying to. A schedule doesn't come overnight. I found out. I thought
It's
I could
true.
just do it. You
No.
have to implement it.
It's like this.
Yeah.
And then you really get the fruit of your schedule
Right.
over time. But it feels and looks like you're not doing anything. But while you focus, you're building momentum, and then the momentum
It does, and it becomes habit.
Habit makes it lasting. Exactly.
And see, that's what I'm on is
That's
my
the
old
goal.
habit because I trained myself with my mind that worked for me years ago. But with this one changing everything, it's like I'm still trying to figure out how to manipulate my days. It's really been a challenge. I've noticed I'm late a lot now. I never used to be late everywhere, and now I'm like, wow, I'm on my way over here. I'm like, well, I'm 80% late now. I'm like, this is interesting. I'm thinking, why? It's like because I'm trying to.
Because you have a different system. You have a calendar system.
Yeah, now everything is different for me. It's like I feel like a baby. Like I'm having to relearn all these skills I used to have that were like management skill levels, and now I feel like I'm a baby level.
I would say that you're not a baby. What you're doing is you're learning to remix. You're taking your
hard.
skills,
Yes.
and the way to speed track your learning curve is take what you already know, and instead of looking at it as a new system and a whole new thing, look at it as the exact same thing, like old school marketing. Like the things that I'm hearing from you, you focus on principles, because I realize like what you're saying is like it's a lot of the new marketing principles, and you know that their principles are permanent, techniques are temporary, but like you already know 80% of like the marketing things, the 20% just the nuances of like the new platforms or things, but the same principles. So you already understand it, you're skilled at it. It's just what you really need to focus on. Here's the part: is take what you already know and the new concept and connect the new concept with fit. Where does that fit? Like what I was doing here, like this, like a table. You're like, that's a new terminology in Notion. I don't know what's going on with a table. But the moment I told you a table equals Excel, you're like, oh, I know Excel. Like I know what that is. Spreadsheet, is that like a spreadsheet? Yes. So once you made that connection, now on Notion, it's like it's not overwhelming because you made the connection. So in learning, and I learned this like I watch a lot of videos on learning how to learn, and I realized part of the reason why is because learning a strategy could save you like decades of time doing the wrong thing. So I realized like, man, if the more that I can learn, the faster I can implement, practice, and try. And like success is just failing really fast, really hard. in a short succession without losing enthusiasm. And so I need to just like learn new concepts and test them out, and then just fail, so I figure out what works. So the sooner I can fail, the sooner I'll get what works. And it's like what you're saying with the system for your habit and schedule. That schedule, the reason why I listen to like 30 videos on time management is because I'm testing out some of these different things, and it's not just absorbing, I'm implementing and I'm practicing and I'm trying and tweaking and modifying, and I realize a lot of the stuff that they're saying, there's overlap in what they say, which is helpful because it's giving you different terminology to reach.
Different angle, you can get the picture faster.
Yeah, but this, I realize this is the best framework I've ever seen, and so now everything that I learned in time management, now I have this as my reference. I'm like, which bucket does this go into? This is, okay, eliminate. Prioritizing is on eliminating. Knowing what our values are, what are my non-negotiables, that's eliminating everything else. To don't list, that's eliminating all this stuff. I'm like, okay, and then automate. So everything I'm learning about systems, about habits, about automation, that's all under automate. And so if I learn a new tip, I'm always going back to what do I already know? What is the system I already have? So you have systems. So what you got to do is connect the new goals, new concepts, new principles, and then you're seeing how can you apply what you're doing in that. Like the Sabbath, what we were talking about. Everything your life has been on Monday, that's been like your preparation day, essentially, for how you do everything. So you have the system. It's not a completely new thing.
Well, it's not a new one, but because I understand that the system has to be done. So what I ran into, because I was trying to do it this last week, this is what I was running into. So like on Monday, that's when I change my sheets, I do all my household stuff, right? And I do my shopping on Sunday, right? So Sunday is not necessarily a work day, but it is a work day. It's like a rest day for us still. Because David takes his Sabbath on, because that's where he's at. So it's actually like our family day. And Sabbath day is more like I go to church and it seems like it sucks up the whole day, and there's no time to actually have downtime. It's actually busy time.
How do you say that church sucks up the whole day when you show up at the beginning of church? And then leave right after the sermon, and it's like, how is that the whole day?
Well, it's not because I've changed that. Because my daughter was like, Mom, does that mean I'm not going to see you tonight? So it's another day I don't get to see you, right? So our whole family is in strife when I'm not there. Not strife, but like, when are we ever going to see you? Because when I come home, she goes to work. When I leave here, I go. When I leave here, usually around 2, she's getting ready to go to work. So we don't see each other. So I have that window where, like this last week, I haven't even hardly seen Morgan. I don't even know what path she's on. I don't even know where she's at. I don't know where she's doing. I don't even know nothing. I'm totally disconnected from her life 100% right now because I don't have a system. So when I get home, she leaves. And so when she gets home, it's 11 o'clock at night. 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So I'm like, okay, how do I do this? So then on Sunday, this last Sunday, I was like, David, I can go do the shopping. So I went. Then Andy threw a tantrum. He's like, I thought this was supposed to be family day. And I'm like, well, it's been crazy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Dude, I'm like, okay, David needed rest because of his day before. And I'm like, okay, so how do I get everybody on the same page where we're all working? Because it's not just my schedule. I'm putting together the whole household schedule. Yeah. So we can all. So I've given people chores this last week. That was good. Changing some things up because the house has been destroyed, and I've been the one always cleaning the house.
Yeah, that is good. You're delegating.
Yes, and so I'm like, okay. So Andy asked Morgan today. I said, Morgan, I said, the entry hall, I said, could you just keep that clean? Could you just make that your chore? You just do that and just pick up after your son. Every time he makes a mess, just pick it up. And before you leave the room, just pick it up.
And she can delegate and have Solomon pick up some of the stuff. That's what I told her. I said, because if you don't, Solomon's going to be just like you. So you got your choice. You want him to be just like you, or are you going to train him? And if you train him, then it will train you. It will make you train you. That's right. The secret of overcoming is helping others overcome.
So we got that this week we've been working on. And so, I can't remember what day it was. I mean, I was just cleaning like crazy. And I'm like, and then this morning I was like, okay, I have the people I minister to, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to go up to the hill because the Lord's laid it on my heart for like 2 weeks now. It's like, go see him. And I was like, okay, Lord. So I went up there and saw him and his wife. And his wife was there. So I didn't really get to spend one-on-one with him spiritually, And so I was like, okay, Lord. And that's why I was like, here. Because I was like, I don't know the time frame it takes to get from there to here. So,
Understandable.
But anyway, trying to put those things on schedule and still spend time with the family because they're like, oh, you're leaving again, huh? I'm like,
Do you have it written anywhere, digitally or physically?
Do I have it written down? Because I didn't used to. I mean, I knew exactly what I did on each day.
Okay, so you just did.
Because I used to have like a Monday. Yes.
Like days were themes.
Themes were for days. Yes, and that's how I get my schedule.
I like doing that too.
I did it exactly like that. I had one day that was my bill paying day.
Yeah.
And then I did all my laundry on one day, and then I had the next day was I would do all my visitation, and I would do my certain day. I had days were allotted for certain things. The whole day.
It sounds like
it was easier for me.
Like regarding the Sabbath, it's like I know that the Sabbath is a cross.
I love it.
It is a sacrifice because like Jesus said, I think not that I came to bring peace, but a sword. I come not to bring peace, but a sword, to put at variance the father-in-law with the mother-in-law, and the son and the daughter, and a man's enemies will be they of his own household, which is like, whoa, that's intense.
True.
But I realized that the Sabbath, like truly observing the Bible Sabbath, is what creates a lot of that variation.
And I'm okay with that. And they're starting to learn it too. They're starting to feel it, and they're actually calling it Sabbath now, which is good. So they're all growing. We're all growing slowly, and all of us. But as I lead, they lead. You know what I'm talking about? So it's starting with me. Good. So even David, I've noticed he's even, getting on board somewhat, So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's an incremental progress. Slow progress is still progress.
So my thing is, I need to stop because I know I've been trying to do it on my own. I need to go back and ask God, I need, because He can get it to me all in one day. He did it the last time. He's the one that gave me my first schedule, and it was amazing. I mean, I was able to accomplish so much stuff that it was like amazing. And I felt,
absolutely,
it was amazing. Yeah. So he's the one that gave me my first one. So I need to ask him to give me the second one because he said the Sabbath is supposed to be a delight.
Yeah, for sure.
It should feel like, oh,
because the like as I'm listening to you, a lot of the things that I hear from you is the system that you've been operating on for years has been the Babylonian system, which is the word confusion, but because the Catholic Church teaches Sunday is a family day, Sunday is a rest day, and because there's a tension between like Sunday is my Sabbath and then the Saturday is your Sabbath, but it's like God has one Sabbath.
He only has one, yeah.
And then Monday was your bill paying and your errands, but really it's like Friday is a preparation day, and I realized, like, since I've met you too, one of the things that I realize is that Sabbath is not a delight unless we really focus on preparation day. It is preparation because everything that you would want to do, going shopping or like cleaning or picking up chairs, everything that you would do like on Sabbath that would like swarm in that you'd want to do, by doing it on Friday, you are preparing, you're laboring, you're doing extra on Sabbath. Like Exodus 16. They were like a manna fell from heaven every morning, and God's and if you had to get it in the morning, if you waited, it would spoil, and then there was none that came on Sabbath. But on Friday, God gave a double portion of the manna from heaven, and in Exodus 16, He says that was to test and to prove whether you're walking my laws or no. And people who went out on Saturday to go look for manna, there was none. So that shows that like the Sabbath was a part of God's commandment before Sinai, which I know you believe. But there was one of the things that principles that He taught, and it said in Exodus 16, boil that which you'll boil, see that which you'll see, do all your cooking, do all your preparing. Where when you labor and think, like the theme of Friday is what is everything I could possibly batch and do all up front right now, that will make the Sabbath a delight.
I did that this last one, and this Sabbath was a delight for me. I rested. I was like, dude, everybody's like, Mom, and I'm like, don't bother me. I'm busy. I'm resting. Thank you. Don't bother me. Thank you. I'm having a great time. And it was nice, and I felt peace about it. And then the next thing was like, Morgan was like, Mom, she goes, it's really frustrating. She said, because on Sunday, you're gone on Sunday, because we do the meeting and it seems like it turns into later, until like 1 or 2. She goes, Mom, we got to have some time where I can go shopping with you. Like, I need to get stuff for Solomon. I want you to go with me, and I never get to go with you anymore.
Is she able to do that on Friday?
No, because I don't know that she can.
Friday morning?
I don't know. I should ask her.
Because Friday would be a perfect system for doing that every single week, being able to go shopping and everything.
That would be good.
That would be good. And Sunday, like, some stores are shut down.
See, David's asked me the same thing. He's gotten really upset. He's been like, Mom, nothing's open on Sunday.
Yeah.
Why do you want me to go?
Friday is the day to do that.
But he works during Fridays.
What about Friday evening or
He
afternoon?
doesn't get home till 11. I mean, not till 11, but 9 to 11. Last night he got home.
Wait a second. What time does he go to work?
Today he went to work at 2 o'clock this morning.
2 p.m.
2 this morning.
2 in the morning, gets back at 11?
Yeah.
How does that work?
I don't know. But that last night he didn't get home until almost 11.
But that's the thing, where he wants to do it, like, on Sabbath?
No. Well, not that he wants to. He's just telling me he's frustrated. He says,
so he's frustrated.
Right.
You can tell him, ask Friday off, or ask Friday to cut back hours, or ask, like, the more that, like, rather than compromising for, like, his schedule and trying to keep Sunday, ask him, like, you're the leader of the house, and so ask him to apply or conform to your schedule, the Bible preparation and Sabbath, and saying, you want time with me to do this. I'm saying Friday, I'm available, I'm here for you, I don't work at all, there's no responsibilities I have with ministry or whatever. This is our time to go shopping, to spend time to work,
Friday,
to clean.
So I give him a 4-day weekday instead of a 5-day weekday. Because he only works 5 days a week.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have to, like, leave the entire time, but even if he just, like, as Sabbath keepers, what we do when we ask for, like, work and stuff, we don't just ask for Saturday off, we ask for Friday evening off.
Right.
So, just a shorter day, no matter where we work for other people in the world, we're like, we want a shorter day on Friday and no time on Sabbath unless it's in the evening. We're willing to work Saturday evening, no problem. And where most people wouldn't, I'm available.
Right.
And I'm willing to work on Sunday and stuff. But just shorter day on Friday gives you that window to prepare. Because some people are working and they're like single parents.
Well, if I was preparing in the evening, that's when I do all my cooking just before Sabbath. I go to the store and pick up whatever I needed to pick up for Sabbath, and then I cook.
Could he ask for a shorter day in the morning?
Like I said, they'd tell him to take the whole day off. Because he has to drive almost an hour to work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he has a really hard job he's doing. He works in Anatone.
And I know that's far away.
In the canyons, way past Anatone.
That's intense.
Oh yeah.
And he really wants to see. That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the challenge is, instead of like a 5 working day, like
turn into 4 day.
No. Like, God says 6 working days. 6 days shalt thou labor.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just like the tension is because Saturday and Sunday.
Well, I guess the tension would be everybody used to work 5 days and have 2 days off.
Yeah, it's true.
That's where the tension is. Because so people would have one day they'd just spend for the Lord all day long. Like we used to do. On Sunday we spend the entire day at the church and just doing church.
So then the 2 days that you guys could have off is like Friday and Sabbath. Like some people ask that, like I want like Friday. Some people take the whole Friday.
But he doesn't. You have to work as a team, so you can't. Yeah, where he's at.
Yeah, with him working with where he's at. But it's the Sabbath and Saturday. The Sunday, it's a papal Sabbath and the God Sabbath. That's the tension.
Right.
Because the 2 days off is like Friday and Sabbath, but in the world it's Saturday and Sunday, and they try to start the day on Monday, which makes Sunday the Sabbath, which is like, it's all like this spiritual warfare that is deeply embedded, and it's all intentional. Like how we.
Well, maybe Galen and David could work on Sundays together.
Yeah.
Because he's a Sabbath keeper too, and he's I need to talk to Galen and see if he wants to. Maybe we can take off on Fridays. That would be good and help Galen.
That would really help Galen.
That would, because I know he hasn't been to church in a long time.
Yeah.
Like 3-4 months almost.
And if you really don't use preparation day for what it's for, like real Sabbath keeping preparation is part of it, because
the Bible says so.
That helps you so that you can show up on Sabbath. You're not stressed out about everything you gotta do. You're not super exhausted, but it's like you get to really enjoy and be present, and that's our family day. Because Sabbath is wonderful to go out in nature, to go out on hikes or walks, to go with people.
And sleep.
Not to sleep.
I need my sleep when you get my age.
Yes, no, I understand. But check this out. When you're sleeping on the holy hours of Sabbath, you're really saying to God that you're willing to do on His time what you would never do on your work time. that you're willing to sleep away.
Well, he told them
that
not to leave their tents. They were not allowed to leave their tents.
No, that's not true.
I read it.
No.
It says it.
Okay, go to Acts chapter 16.
Well, I don't know about Acts, but I know in the Old Testament it says they were not supposed to leave their tents.
Well, go to.
Oh, Jesus was out working on the Sabbath. I know that.
No, he wasn't working on the Sabbath.
The Pharisees said he was working on the Sabbath.
Which
Jesus
was man's laws.
Right. Jesus said, I'm not working because my Father worketh and so do I work.
And Jesus came to give people the right understanding of what true Sabbath observance is.
And that's why people branch off and they say, well, Jesus works and so do I. We work till we even work on the Sabbath because he worked on the Sabbath.
Right. People have misconstrued Jesus' ways, but what the contention with Christ was that the Pharisees, like I was telling you, they made the Talmud and they made this laws of thousands of man-made laws that the Bible doesn't say anything about, and they said you had to work. You could only walk a certain amount of feet, and otherwise you're breaking the Sabbath, which was not biblical. Nowhere in the scriptures does it say that.
So they keep the ways of man, not of God.
They had to wear a certain amount of weight, otherwise they're carrying a burden on the Sabbath, which God never said.
Right.
And so
they tried to break it down into increments.
Yes, Jesus violated those so that he can show and restore the true
that Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath.
Exactly.
Yes.
But,
so if your body is saying you're tired, you shouldn't rest anyway. Even if you're tired.
I'm not saying that. But
I get tired.
If your body is trying to sleep on Sabbath, then it's an indication that maybe preparation wasn't really handled the right way, or maybe sometime during the week. It might be a bigger picture, not just on
Well, what's
Sabbath.
the people's idea of rest? Is there a thing that he says in the Bible what rest is? It's not sleeping?
Yes.
No. What is
There's
rest?
a difference between rest and sleeping.
Oh, there is.
But go to Acts 16:13. This is really helpful. The principles of Sabbath observance is really helpful. And can you read it when you get there?
Oops. Okay. Then Paul stood up and beckoning with his hand said, Men of Israel, and ye that fear God, give audience.
Verse 13?
Chapter 13, verse 16?
No, chapter 16, verse 13.
Oh.
16:13.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Has to reload. Just go back since I'm
There's a blessing in here, and I'm so excited for you to see it.
And on the Sabbath we went out of the city by a riverside, where prayer was wont to be made. And we sat down and spake unto the woman which resorted thither.
Okay, so the principle here is, one, it is not biblical to stay in your tent and not leave your house. Where they went out of the city on the Sabbath, they went by river, so they went out in nature, and there was other women Sabbath keepers there, and it was saying that where I believe the Sabbath was is a time where prayers want to be made, but also out in nature is a great place to pray. So one principle that we see here is on the Sabbath keeping and observing. Part of that is spending time with God out in nature, because think about it. What is the whole purpose of Sabbath keeping?
I thought it was a day of rest. That's what I thought it was.
Okay, it's not for sleeping.
It's not for rest.
No, but
it's for work. One lady at our church, she told me, she said, listen, you want to work, Sabbath is the day that's our busiest day. That's what she told me. She said, we work. She goes, it's work. I'm like, I know. I see it.
It's a little different where...
it's like they're working harder than secular.
Well, let me... I can clarify that one too, okay. But let's focus on one thing at a time. Okay. So let me just write that down real quick. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. This is good. So go to Genesis 3. Genesis 2. This is so beautiful. Genesis 2, 1 through 3. This is a scripture song.
Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all of the host of them. Let's see, how do I get to the next one?
What? How did you find it? Oh. What happened to
I had to dump it because I didn't have any room on it. I couldn't have Notion on here at the same time. It didn't have enough memory.
Oh wow.
So I had to dump something.
That is, read the full chapter.
Thank you.
That'd be you dumped your Bible.
Well, I had to because I couldn't get Notion on there, and I needed Notion, right?
That's rough.
So what was I supposed to do? I have a Bible I carry with me usually.
I hear you.
Okay. On the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that he had that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Okay.
So
rested.
Yes, Jesus rested, but notice the emphasis. All the heavens and the earth were finished. His work of creation. It was like everything he made, and so it was.
He finished his work. Work is anything that's labor.
Yeah, his work, but specifically the work that God rested from here was creation. And this is powerful, where the emphasis of the Sabbath is on creation and the Creator. Because a 7-day cycle, all time, look at time, all time is based on something to do with the stars or the moons or the planet or Earth. So like a year is a revolution around the sun. Right. A day is a revolution of the revolving of the Earth, 24 cycle. So all time, and the month is a month. It's a cycle of the moon. So there's things in the atmosphere, the galaxy that shows us, or our solar system, that gives us time. But what about the 7-day weekly cycle? There is nothing in the stars, planets, and moon that gives us a 7-day cycle. There's no astrological or scientific reason for a 7-day cycle. The only place that this week comes from is the Bible account of creation. That came from Genesis.
Okay.
And so all the world is seeing this 7-day cycle, and it came from Genesis, and it's pointing you to the 7th day, the Sabbath, that God is the creator. It's one of the great evidences that the Bible is true, the Sabbath is true, and the God of the Bible is a creator more than any other gods. It's because of the 7-day cycle. And there was even times back in the French Revolution in 1798 where they were revolting against God. They were coming out of the Dark Ages. The only idea that they had about God was that which the Catholic Church painted, and they wanted nothing to do with God. And so they actually changed, get this, their calendar from a 7-day cycle, knowing it came from the Bible, to a 10-day cycle in rebellion against God. And they tried to do that. Productivity destroyed. And on the 10th day, instead of resting, they did it devoted to partying and reveling and orgies and all sorts of crazy stuff. And all of their productivity crashed. Their livestock wasn't able to function, and the businesses were failing. And it was so turmoil, they had to revert back to the 7-day biblical cycle, which was like, whoa. And so that's a Sabbath. And then go over to Revelation 14. This is powerful.
Hold on a second, though. But what about when he tells them in Exodus, he tells them that's God's order of how he wanted them to do it. He wanted them to be in their tents resting, and they're supposed to take on preparation day to gather up everything, like you said, like you used a minute ago. The seeding and all the different stuff. All this stuff is supposed to be done before Sabbath. And 2 days they're supposed to gather up everything. And then he tells them to go in their tents, and they're not to be leaving their tents. He tells them to stay. I'm trying to find the scripture.
Exodus 16 is the chapter.
Let's see which one I'm on. Exodus 12. Okay. And he tells them about, it says King James, it doesn't look like it. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of the month they shall take to them every man of them. Okay, that's the 10th month.
Verse 16, is that what you're referring to?
No.
It says, take every man of them which are in his tents?
No, that's not the one.
Wait, I can look up the word tents.
Yeah. I was looking at it too. Let's see, page 1.
Oh, the only place in Exodus 16 that talks about tents is verse 16. I could look up tent.
Tent, yeah.
Yeah. There's only verse 16 is the only place it talks about
chapter
tents.
16?
No, chapter 16, verse 16. 16:16 is the only place tent is used in this context in the whole chapter.
Let's see. Well, I just read it, so I know it's in there because I just read it. I read in Exodus. That's all about the temple. I mean, the sanctuary, the tabernacle.
With that particular verse you're looking for, I would love to help look at it.
Well, the reason I asked that is because I would like to look at them all, because I know when we have doctrines that we study or literature that we study, we have a tendency to link all those in our head and say, okay, well, they gave an example for that one, that one, and that one, that one to prove a point of that one, that one, that one. So that's being led. So in order to not be led, like I said, you have to go through the Bible yourself and pull out all the scriptures yourself and look at them. Because if not, if you've been under any teaching or been under any study, anything will point to whatever they want it to point to. And so that's why I'm saying.
That's why we always have to. That's why I encourage people, like, I don't believe it's wrong to go through some trainings, but you want to take notes and you want to be a Berean and go through the Word of God and allow Him to confirm or deny and compare with what you understand in other verses.
Because that
context.
one scripture is the hang-up that I run into, because it says, that they were that was a commandment for them to go in their tents and to stay, and they were supposed to gather the day before. And anybody that tried to gather, they thought, oh, well, I'll just keep the next day. It turned to worms.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it. So that was one of the things that he talked about, that they were supposed to be there. They weren't supposed to carry a burden. They were supposed to just be in their tents and just resting. So I thought, wow, so that even brings it down to even a bigger picture. So then when do you go to church? But Jesus, he was in church on Sabbath, as we well know.
Yeah, every Sabbath.
Yeah, every Sabbath. And we know that he worked on Sabbath, healing people. He didn't call it work, but they did. He said, isn't it not good? Like if you have an animal and it falls in the ditch, you go and help them out of the ditch. How much more a child of God? Should we not help this person that's been lame all their life and not help them? And he said it's better to do good on the Sabbath than to do evil. And so he was trying to teach them, Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath, because they were so into their law.
Okay, I think I found the verse you're looking for.
And keeping their rules.
Exodus 16:29.
Go ahead and read it.
It says, abide ye every man in his place, let no man go out of his place on the seventh day.
Place? I don't know anything about that. But
it was
anyway,
talking about having on the sixth day, you take enough for two, and so the people rested on the seventh day. One thing too that you can consider is like, these people are like dwelling in the wilderness and they're just traveling, and they're literally in a desert. Right. So it's like, what more is there really for you to do, like outside of your tent or in the home or where you're around?
Go hiking, look at your nature around you, enjoy it.
Well, one thing to
go visit Nancy at her house.
Yeah, it's true. One thing that's very helpful is like, the Bible says like on the testimony of 2 or 3 a thing is established. So in order to like really like to make a doctrine or like a belief or like to accept out of this, we need a second or third witness that's saying the same concept. So to understand this subject, should we go out or should we stay in our home for the Sabbath?
I think what he's saying is you need to rest, period, whatever your rest is, because he gave the example. Because they were like, oh, well, you have to do the law, which was a burden. Yeah. And if they didn't, so he even showed them even more. He even really confused them when he went and picked an ear of corn and was like, and his disciples were eating, and they're like, why are they doing this? They're supposed to do everything in preparation for Sabbath, and they didn't prepare. Instead, they're eating it like right here, and they're picking it, and they're eating it right here on the Sabbath. They're not supposed to be picking, and they're supposed to gather everything the day before, preparation, and they're not doing it. They're eating it right now in front of us, doing this. They are sitting. And he's like, listen, Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath. You're missing the big picture of what I made it for. It was a day of rest. It's a day of rest. And so rest to me, maybe everybody's different, idea of his rest is different, but to me, going in the wilderness is rest. Sometimes I need to sleep. Sometimes I need, what do you call it? Sometimes, there's a lot of different things. But I did find when I was serving in the ministry on Sunday even, which was my Sabbath back then, that is actually the busiest day because you got to go get all your literature together, you got to get your stuff together, and you have to be there, and it's almost like your work day. Not necessarily, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. But it's better, and Jesus addressed that by saying, isn't it better to do good than to do evil?
Well, he addressed it even more so. Go over to Matthew 12:5. like when it comes to like the busiest, Sabbath being the busiest day for those who are in ministry. Matthew 25. And okay, verse 1 through 5, I don't think we need to read all of them, but this is just like what you were talking about. They were hungry, they began to pluck the corn, and the Pharisees saw it, they're like, whoa, it's not lawful to do this on the Sabbath. And this is what we read. I could read verse 3 when you're there. Matthew 12:3. And do you remember how I found the whole chapter?
Yeah, I found the bottom of it. Let's see. Yeah. Read full chapter. Okay, there. Okay, and you said you're on what verse?
3.
3, okay, go ahead.
So Jesus said to them, have you not read what David did when he was an hungered, and they that were with him, and how he entered into the house of God, and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with it, but for only for the priest. Verse 5, this is the point. Or have you not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless? So this verse 5 is like, what I understand is he's saying like the priests are to make bread every single day. Like that was what they did because it was a symbol, it was a type, it was a representation. God was giving a spiritual object lesson of how we are to eat the Word of God, and on the Sabbath day we are to eat that as well and continue. And this is a daily responsibility we have to eat the bread of life. So the priests, those who are in ministry, they're working, but they're not doing their work. They're doing God's work. So in the 4th commandment it says, 6 days shalt thou labor and do all your work, but on the 7th is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. And so he talks about 6 working days and in Ezekiel, and he talks about doing all your labors. And then in Isaiah 58, the same chapter that talked about that there's a prophecy in the last days that there's going to be people who are repairers of the breach, who restores the foundations of many generations. In the last days, the Sabbath would be recovered. But it says that if you turn your foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, not doing thine own ways, or finding thine own pleasures, or speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord. So what I realized with Sabbath is it's a difference between doing our work and doing God's work. Because
so when do you rest? Because working for the Lord is exciting, as we know, and there is things that you do anyway. You're even supposed to help your neighbor if it's the animal falls in your bed or whatever. Right. So we know we're not talking about just basic work. But we're talking about rest. When do you get your rest?
Well, rest. It depends on like.
Because I know, like, I'll tell you one thing I learned by me going to work. When I used to stay home and study the Bible, and I was involved in ministry in Indiana, I had my company that I helped run. I did a lot of my own stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I found, I used to get upset with my husband. I'm thinking, well, why don't you spend time in the Word? Why don't you, and I was like, dude, what is your problem? Well, it wasn't until I went to work, like full-time job. Dude, I cannot tell you that when I would come home, I was like, dude, I need downtime. Don't talk to me. I need downtime. And he used to do that when he'd come home and be like, I'd come to him and say, hey, and Scott, and do you know what else I read today? Blah, blah, blah. And I'd be so excited because I'd be like getting to have that time to eat the Word and just really share it and get to serve in the community and I was like busy girl. But I remember he'd come home and be like, can you just give me like 30 minutes to myself? I'm like, oh, okay. And so I was like, oh. And then as I went to work into the work field, I remember thinking, oh, all these things that he used to do, now it makes sense. Because when you come home, your brain needs to detach. You're like, dude, I need downtime. I'm like, wow, I never thought I would get this way. Maybe it's the age. Maybe it has something to do with age because he was older.
Jesus answered that question. He specifically said in Matthew 11:28, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest. So he's talking to these people and he says, take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So
you're saying that the rest that he's talking about when on seventh day he rested, it was a mental rest, not a physical rest. It's a mental rest. Like your rest is in the Lord, it's in Jesus.
Yeah, it's
and
a soul.
because you're in Jesus, then you can now rest. So it had nothing to do with labor. It had to do with your mental state.
I would say spiritual, because there's physical, mental, and spiritual. But yes, spiritual rest.
Okay.
It's a spiritual rest that we're able to do. Rest from
on the seventh day,
secular.
God spiritually rested, not physically. He still worked.
It's more like God works like spiritually for our salvation. He worked tremendously for salvation of souls, because that's God's work. Jesus worked for the salvation of souls. The priests, when we're doing ministry, they worked and they were blameless. But when we're doing secular work like business transactions, and even in ministry, there are certain things that in ministry that like you can say like, yeah, I'm serving others, but the question is, does it have to be done on Sabbath? Is that something that is like a Sabbath appropriate?
It's only an emergency, because an animal that falls in a pit is not supposed to stay there until the next day, because it needs water and food. So it'd be like if your neighbor's house was on fire, or if the storm was coming and someone's roof was off and somebody had to get up there and help with the roof. It is emergency issues. It's not like, oh, we're cleaning out our house, can you come help us clean our house out today? It's like, I'm sorry.
But what you see with Paul is Paul visited people. He studied with them. He gave studies. So it's a great opportunity. Like people who work and they're doing the secular work and they're doing that constantly. Mm-hmm. Sabbath is a tremendous day to work for the salvation of souls. Mm-hmm. That's God's work, not ours. Our work is like, our business, our jobs, our occupation, whatever. Mm-hmm. But God's work is giving Bible studies, spending time with the family, cultivating that relationship with those who are in our household and we love. And it is being a friend to the neighbors. Not cleaning their house kind of service, but going there and encouraging them, praying with them, maybe studying with them. But he's saying that take my yoke. So like yoke is like two oxen that are yoked together. It's actually a work terminology. Jesus saying, and God's work is ministry. So the Sabbath is a wonderful opportunity for ministry, especially for people that labor for 6 days and they don't have time for the ministry, or it's harder for them and it's draining. The Sabbath is a blessed opportunity to minister to other people, especially for the secular and like workers, and as like ministry workers, it's a like more opportunity to minister to the secular workers too. Because as Levites, they didn't have like their own occupation. They lived in the homes of others, or they lived in the temple. And God, like all the 12 tribes of Israel, 11 of them got property and land, and that was what they cultivated as agriculture and farmers and like shepherds. But the Levites, they were not given land. They were scattered throughout all the 12 tribes, because by becoming in association with those who have secular businesses that engross the mind during the 6 working days, they would be able to help minister their spiritual needs.
And it's true they are, because I know when the difference between me and Scott, I had that time where I was doing ministry full time, here or there, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't get, it was like I couldn't figure out why he couldn't keep up with me. I was like, come on, dude. It's like, come on, we got, you need to be more pressed into God, more. And I was like constantly like, dude, are you going to grow in Christ? Blah, blah, blah. And I remember it wasn't until I went to work that I thought, man, people need, when you go to work, you need a day of rest. You really need a whole day where you can. And not necessarily that you have to stay in bed all day. There's times that you do need to, because your body, because sometimes work is not that hard. Right. But sometimes you can have a draining work and you're like, dude, if I have to go back to work and I don't get any rest, I'm going to lose my job. Because my brain, literally, if I can't get any rest and I can't have downtime where the body, where you're, what I'm talking about? Your body itself, physical, needs rest. Mm-hmm. But then I raised there. But when you're in ministry, I never felt like I needed that kind of rest. I mean, I was like good. I mean, it was like, okay, on my Sabbath days, it was like, that was my opportunity to go knock on doors and visit people and stuff. And then I started finding out that people are like, dude, because it was on Sunday that I would do it, it was like, dude, we just got back from church, we're resting, thank you, go away, bye. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Now I'm being kind of hypocritical now, because now I'm making you work because you want to be in your bed and you want to be comfortable. Instead, I come to your door. One lady, I was sharing the gospel to her while she's sitting on her toilet. Her husband is like, here, she had cancer. He's like, oh, come in here and talk to her. And so he dragged me in there. She's on the toilet. She's totally humiliated, is all get out. And he's like, oh no, here, she wants to talk to you about the Lord and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I can come back. He's like, no, she wants to hear it. And I'm like, dude, I'm like disgracing this poor lady. She has cancer and she's sitting on the toilet and she can't even hardly move. She can't even get up to clean herself because she's in so much pain. And I'm like, this is horrible. I thought, Lord, this is not of you. This is not of you. So Lord, what do I do? And I was like, I have to go. I'm sorry, I need to go. And of course I didn't look at her the whole time I was talking to her, because I was like, I don't want to disgrace her, But I didn't know she was on the toilet. He just took me in there and I'm like,
it's hard to, not as intense, but it's kind of like being in a photo album, and you're like, wow, how do I get out of this situation?
Yeah, and so, but I've been praying, and I am trying to put that together, because I know, I was reading another part too, it says if you live far away out, that you're to store up like your tithes, and you're to store up your certain tithes, and there's like different tithes.
Yeah, there's second tithe and there's first tithe.
Yeah, and I'm thinking one's of your produce, and the other one is like you sell your produce because you're, and then the part I didn't understand that was just totally off my radar 100%, which I'm like, I've never heard it, never taught it, don't even know what it's talking about, because I could misconstrue it, because I've never heard it even talked about every day of my life, is you're to sell your produce, and you are to buy something that you really love. It even said wine. I'm like, dude,
wine is
like grape juice, whatever.
Yeah,
but
not
anyway,
alcoholic wine though.
No, and then strong drink. It said strong drink too, and I'm like, strong drink? What's a strong drink? And I'm like,
strong drink is alcoholic.
And it said to buy these things or that, and then I'm like, I'm confused. I'm like, is this King James Version? I'm reading my Bible. I'm like, did somebody tamper with my Bible? Because I'm like, I just read this yesterday, and I was like, dude. And so it said that you're to take your produce and you're to sell it, and then you're to turn around and buy those things that you love and invite the stranger and the people to come and fellowship with you and to celebrate with you. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this means. So I'm not going to go anywhere with this, because this is over my head, because I'm not understanding it. And it's like, and then it talked about, like, if you live too far away, what you can do is you can go there and sell your stuff, buy it to turn it into gold, and to take it to the place. And when you get there, buy those things, and to do that. And I'm like, well, then when do you give it to the pastor? When do you give it to the church? This is not making sense to me.
That's dealing with the second tithe, and a lot of times they use that for feast days, which were annual gatherings where when you're living afar, you journey. Where there's 7 feast days, and there's 3 of them that they were expected to attend every year. Passover is one of them, Pentecost is one of them, and so when they travel, there's spring feast and the fall feast. So when you travel over there, like, you don't necessarily want to bring all your trail of food, livestock and food and all that. So you sell it, and you can bring monies over there. And the second tithe, tithe means 10%, so it's still 10%. Yeah. The first tithe goes to, it's a salary for the pastor to be able to continue to do the work. Those who are laboring in word or in word or in doctrine. In full-time ministry, anyone who's full-time giving Bible studies and stuff, they qualify for tithe, and they're supported through that. And so, and that's the first tithe that goes to God, and God gives it to the Levites, as Hebrews 7 says. But the second tithe, that's a 10%. Now we're looking at 20%, but that's a 10% that is for, like, the annual feast. So if there's, like, events or something, people are coming together, the stranger, the Levite, the poor. So it's basically for benevolent work, where as Christians, we see that we have a duty to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and give drink to the poor. And we're wondering, like, if I'm barely scraping ahead, how do I help them? How do I have the funds to do that? God's gift giving is very systematic. It's systematic benevolence, where it's a system of percentage. So it doesn't matter how much you make, whether you're a poor widow or whether you are a wealthy, like, businessman. 10% of all your increase goes to benevolence for taking care of it might be like if a minister or something, like, needs, like, a jacket or something, or maybe someone needs clothes, or, like, they have, like, babies or something that are outgrowing their clothes and they can't afford them. You see the need and you fill it. Where I learned, I actually learned this in 2017, and it, like, changed my world. Where before it was kind of like maybe sporadic gift giving or helping or filling the needs, and you're like, yeah, where did that money come from? But when you take 10% off the top of all your increase, and you're just like, that is set aside for giving and helping the needs, the poor, the fatherless, the widow, the hungry, the Levite, then you're like, I have this fund that is consecrated to God for helping others, and this is either to go to, like, a yearly event, like I believe we don't have feasts to go to, but God still wants us to gather for like camp meetings, that we can come together for yearly meetings where the Word of God is being preached, ministers from different places, we're hearing different perspective, we're able to be a blessing, receive a blessing, and like God replace the feast with like kind of camp meeting type events where we're coming together. And so it might help to fund those things so that they could take place, or it might go to helping maybe buy like a Bible worker or something, a pair of shoes if they need it. And so when you have that fund and it's systematic, if you get $100, that means $10 goes to a gift. So you're thinking, I got a $10 gift. How can I use this to bless humanity and reflect Christ's love? And one of the 5 love languages is gift giving. So it's set aside for that.
That's good.
And when I learned that, I was like, systematic benevolence. Like my heart was just like overjoyed.
When you give, yeah.
Yeah, when you can give. And God had a system in the Bible. And I still believe that it's not like an optional or it's a forgotten.
Oh, you're talking about the second tithe?
Yeah, the second tithe.
Yeah, I love that.
I know it's not talked about and it's not spoken very often.
There's so much of the Bible they don't even do,
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, even.
But I believe it's still a requirement, and it
is.
wasn't done away with.
It hasn't been done away with, but there's nobody that's taught it or shared it.
Right. So in our financial courses and training, I want to teach those Bible verses about the second tithe.
Yeah.
So that businessmen and gospel workers, whether poor or rich or poor, free or bond, they understand that principle.
Do me a favor.
Yeah.
Don't study anybody's teaching. Just take it from the Bible only.
Yeah,
I'll be happy.
for sure.
Because I look for people that don't get theirs from other people, because if it's coming from the Bible and the Lord's showing it to them, then I feel peace. Because when I was younger, the Lord told me not to read anything but the Bible, and He knew my nature. I'd probably mesh it with something else, and so that was for me. That wasn't for everybody else. I don't go around teaching, hey, don't read anything else but the Bible. I don't teach that. But for me, He knows my personality, so He knows that I need to be just the Bible.
Yeah.
And because He was wanting me to be a teacher of the Word too, because I think sometimes I do.
Every single idea or every concept, anything that we hear, we have to trace it to the Bible. Because if it's not there...
Well, but what I'm saying is, even in my church, any church doctrine that you're at, they will use the same scriptures to back up their belief, like the day of Pentecost. If you go to a Pentecostal church, they'll give you every scripture on the Word of why you speak in tongues. And they'll just take you this way.
But even there, it's like, what I realize is when you learn how to study the Bible, you can take any doctrine, and when you follow how the Bible says to study it, then you're bringing all the scriptures together, and it clarifies itself. There's different people coming to conclusions, but when you compare it with all the verses, you see that it doesn't fit. Like that theory, you can't have that theory without a contradiction. You can only accept the belief when there's no contradiction in all the verses that talk about speaking in tongues. And rather than coming with our belief and having the Bible prove it, or having 3 or 4 verses that talk about it, and then choosing a whole doctrine or denomination based on that.
I haven't found a doctrine or denomination. The Seventh-day Adventists, which I don't like to call them Seventh-day Adventists, I like to just call them followers of God, children of God. Huh?
I don't believe in Christians.
Yeah, thank you. Because I don't like the titles. I hate the titles. I'm like, if you're following the Word, then I know that you answer to God. You're not answering to denomination. You're not locked into their belief system. You're locked into, what did God say?
Yeah.
That's what I want. It's like, if I know you're following God, then I'm good, because God's your accountability,
absolutely,
not your church.
And when I hear Seventh-day Adventist, when I say that, it's very simple. Of just we believe that the second coming is soon. We're living in the last days, and we want to be right with Him, and all that. And these events are taking place. And we believe the 7th day is a Sabbath. It's unique. I don't see it as tied up with a denomination.
See, I do,
or
because
that
I used to go to one, the 7th day in California, and they were the most secular people I've ever met. I'm like, dude, I thought that they were I thought the truth was with them, and I remember thinking that. And they believe in Christmas. They kept Christmas and holidays and different things. I'm like,
But look at
how do you do this?
Jesus was a Jew. The Jews were God's true people, but not all of them followed all those principles. Right. So even in the days of Elijah, Israel was God's people. That God had a people, and they called themselves Israel, and some there's always a remnant all throughout history. There's always a remnant that were following the Bible. But the leadership many times wasn't. That doesn't mean that the people or the name Jew or Israel or Seventh-day Adventist is wrong. It just means that just like all throughout the history,
right.
the majority was rarely following God. But
well, it's easier for me to reach a line of different denominational people that are, needing help, is when I show them what they're just believers of the Bible. It's just so much easier.
I do the same thing.
Put them in a category. It's like, oh, I've heard about them. Then you have to fight against their belief system.
Yeah, prejudice.
And then you have to go through all that drama, and you're like, and then they're like this, and then it doesn't help, of course, when I pray to church, and they're just like, hey, turn it.
Right. I have the same system. So when people ask me, what am I say, I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I don't say Seventh-day Adventist. But to Seventh-day Adventists, like Paul said, to a Jew, I'm a Jew. To a Roman, I'm a Roman. To a Greek, I'm a Greek. So Seventh-day Adventist, I'm Seventh-day Adventist believer. Oh, it is?
Yeah, I didn't hear the bell.
I didn't either.
Is this mine?
And we've been
you have it.
we've been live this whole time.
Did you mind?
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Yes.
Okay.
What have we been doing? I know.
Oh, you said that we were live.
Oh, we're live?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you take that off of there? We should have told you. Take that off of there. We don't want to cause anybody confusion. Hopefully nobody saw it.
Well, I don't think we're necessarily causing people confusion.
Well, I always worry, because there's some people who are baby Christians. That might be confusing to them.
I think a lot of stuff that we covered is...
No, yeah, but I mean this last few minutes.
Even that, I have to deal with... One of the things that I teach, if I'm teaching Adventists how to do evangelism, I tell them, it's like, look, when you're laboring in your field, don't say that we're Seventh-day Adventists. That creates a prejudice. And it's you don't have to do that. Even if you believe that Seventh-day Adventists, like similar stuff with Seventh-day Adventists, even Seventh-day Adventists, they have different, there's liberal, there's conservative, there's different dynamics within the movement, but at its core, we believe the Bible, and all of our doctrines can be taught from the Scriptures, and that's our authority. It's not like Ellen White, it's not like any denomination, it's not like a belief system.